requirements of needing Starship ready to go for the HLS program, Human Landing Services, and getting people on the moon for the first time. And then once they're able to do that more regularly, get those craft out to the moon, then they'll start working on the reusability of it. With Falcon 9, it took them, I believe it was about 4 or 5 years or so to go from flight to first landing attempt. So I think we might be in that same range here.
Gotcha, very cool. So moving on to the next question, Dan Say here asking, do we know what time sunrise is? So it's about 4:52 a.m. local time there, so I'd assume we're about 2 hours away from sunrise. Do we have any actual numbers? I've heard 7 a.m. floated around.
It's 7:05. The right now sunrise would be 7:05 here in Brownsville.
කට්ටිය මොකද වෙන්නේ ඉතින් අද අපි බලාගෙන හිටපු දවස අන්තිමේ ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා අපි අන්තිම දවසට අපේ ජාත්‍යන්තර රොකට් එක ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එක අද තව පැය කිහිපයකින් ලොන්ච් කරනවා ෆස්ට් ඕබිටල් ටෙස්ට් ෆ්ලයිට් එක ඉතින් මේ වෙනකොට ඔක්කොම දේවල් වගේ ලෑස්ති කරලා තියෙන්නේ අපි අද මේ ෆස්ට් ඕබිටල් ටෙස්ට් ෆ්ලයිට් එක සිද්ධ වෙනකම්ම සහ ඒක ඉවර වෙනකම්ම ලයිව් එකේ ඉන්නවා කතා කරමු හැම දෙයක්ම ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එක ගැන ඉතින් ඕගොල්ලන්ට කොහොමද අද මාර රස්නයක් තියෙන්නේ නේ ඉතින් අපි යමු වැඩේට හරි ඉතින් අප්ඩේට්ස් කිව්වොත් දැනට මේ වෙනකොට ලොන්ච් එකට තියෙන්නේ තව විනාඩි නෙමෙයි තව පැය 3ක් වගේ කාලයක් තියෙනවා මේ වෙනකොට පෑඩ් එක ක්ලියර් කරලා තියෙන්නේ අපි දැක්ක මීට පැය කිහිපයකට කලින් ලොන්ච් ඕබිටල් ලොන්ච් මවුන්ට් එක ගාවින් එතන තිබ්බ කාර් සියල්ල ස්ටාර්බේස් ෆැක්ටරි එක ගාවට ගියා ඕබිටල් ලොන්ච් මවුන්ට් එක දාලා මේ වෙනකොට ප්‍රොපලන් ලෝඩ් කරන්න තාම පටන් අරගෙන නැහැ ඒ වගේම පෑඩ් එක ක්ලියර් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. තාම මං හිතන්නේ පාර වහලා නැහැ. රෝඩ් ක්ලෝස් එක තාම වෙලා නැහැ. තව පැය 3ක් වගේ කාලයක් තියෙන්නේ. මං හිතන්නේ තව ටිකකින් ප්‍රොපලර් ලෝඩ් ගන්න පටන් ගනි. මං දැක්කේ නැහැ තාම ටයිම් ලයින් එකේ ප්‍රොපලර් ලෝඩින් වැටලා තියෙනවද කියලා. අපි අද ෆීඩ්බැක් ගන්නේ NASA ස්පේස් ෆ්ලයිට් එකෙන්. ඒගොල්ලොන්ට ඒකට ක්‍රෙඩිට්ස් දෙන්න ඕනේ. මම මේ ලයිව් එක ඉවරනහම මේගොල්ලන්ගේ ක්‍රෙඩිට්ස් දෙනවා කියලා පල්ලෙහෙන් දානවා. ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ක්‍රෙඩිට්ස් දුන්න කියලා බෑ. ඕන ඒගොල්ලොන්ට කොපිරයිට් ස්ට්‍රයික් එකක් ගහන්න පුළුවන්. NASA ස්පේස් ෆ්ලයිට් එකෙන් තමයි ගොඩක් YouTubersලා ෆීඩ්බැක් ගන්නේ. තාම එහෙම දෙයක් වෙලා නැහැ. අපිට SpaceX එකේ ඔෆිෂියල් ෆීඩ් එක හම්බෙනවා ලොන්ච් එකට විනාඩි 45කට කලින්. ඒ වගේම තව විනාඩි කිහිපයකින් එවරිඩේ ඇස්ට්‍රොනොට් YouTube channel එකෙනුත් එයා ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ ෆීඩ් එක දෙන්න පටන් ගනි. එවරිඩේ ඇස්ට්‍රොනොට් ඊයේ පාන්දර වගේ ලයිව් එකක් ආවා ස්නීක් පීක් කියලා. ඒ ලයිව් එක ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ ලයිව් එකේ මොකක්ද ඒගොල්ලෝ සිද්ධ කරන්න ඉන්නේ කියලා තමයි ඕගොල්ලෝ දන්නේ නැති. එවරිඩේ ඇස්ට්‍රොනොට් කියන්නේ ඉතාමත් හයි ක්වොලිටි ප්‍රොඩක්ෂන් චේන් එකක් තියෙන YouTube channel එකක්. ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ ප්‍රොඩක්ෂන් වලට ගහන්න බෑ. ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ වෙනම වෑන් එකක් තියෙනවා. රොකට් ලොන්චර්ස් තියෙන තැන් වලට ගිහිල්ලා ඒ ලයිව් ෆීඩ්ස් වලට අරගෙන YouTube channel එකෙන් දෙන්න. ඕගොල්ලෝ දැක්ක ඇති ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ අපේ Artemis 1 mission එකේ SLS රොකට් එක ලොන්ච් කරපු දවසේ ඒගොල්ලෝ එතනට ගිහිල්ලා ඒ වෑන් එකේ අපිට කොච්චර හොඳ හයි ප්‍රඩක්ෂන් කොල්ටි එකක් තියෙන ෆීඩ් එකක් දුන්නද කියලා. හරි ඉතින් අන්තිමේ කෝමහරි අපි අපේ ස්ටාර්ෂිප් ලොන්ච් එකට පැය 3කට කලින් පැය 3ක් වගේ තමයි දැන් තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මොකද හිතෙන්නේ මේ ගැන? මට නම් ඇත්තටම කිව්වොත් හිතා ගන්නවත් බෑ. අවුරුදු බිලියන ගානක ඉතිහාසයක් තියෙන මේ සෞරග්‍රහ මණ්ඩලේ අපි දැනට ජීවය තියෙනවා කියලා දන්නේ පෘථිවිය විතරයි. ඉතින් ඒ අවුරුදු බිලියන ගානටම එක ග්‍රහ ලෝකයක ඉන්න මිනිස්සු තවත් ග්‍රහ ලෝකයකට යන්න තමයි මේ හදන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ කාලෙක තමයි අපි මේ ජීවත් වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඕගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙනවා ඇති මේ කොච්චර ඉතිහාසයක්ද මේ අලුත් වෙන්න යන්නේ කියලා. ඒකේ ෆස්ට් ස්ටෙප් එක තමයි අද අපි තියන්න යන්නේ. අපි කියන්නේ SpaceX එක. ඉතින් අපිට මේ Starship එක ගැන කතා කරන්න ගොඩක් දේවල් තියෙනවා. ඉස්සලා අපි Starship එකේ අද සිද්ධ කරන්න යන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා කතා කරමුනේ. අද Starship එකේ කරන්න යන්නේ Starship එක සහ බූස්ට් එක අද SpaceX එකෙන් orbital launch mount එකෙන් ගියාට පස්සේ මම මේ සරලව කියන්න යන්නේ. orbital launch mount එකෙන් launch වුණාට පස්සේ බූස්ට් එක Gulf of Mexico කියන සාගරයට මේ සිරස් අතර කඩන් වැටෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ කෙලින් අතර. ඒ වගේම Starship එක පෘථිවි කක්ෂයෙන් 4/3ක දුරක් ගමන් කරලා පැසිෆික් සාගරයට කඩන් වැටෙනවා තිරස් අතර. ඉතින් මේ බූස්ට් එක සහ Starship එක අද රිකවරි කර ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ලෑන්ඩ් කරන්න විදිහක් නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලෝ තාම දත්ත ලබා ගන්න තමයි මේක දේ සිද්ධ කරන්නේ. ඉතින් කතා කළොත් එහෙම බූස්ට් එක මුහුදට කඩන් වැටෙන එක ගැන බූස්ට් එක කද කඩන් වැටෙන්නේ අපික බලමුනේ පොඩ්ඩයි. ඉතින් මේක තමයි ට්‍රැජෙක්ටරි එක. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පේනවා ඇති මෙතන බූස්ට් එක තියෙනවා. බූස්ට් එක සහ ෂිප් එක ලොන්ච් කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ ගමන් කරලා ස්ටේජ් සෙපරේෂන් එක වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ ෆ්ලිප් මැනු එකක් කරලා බූස්ට් එක පැසිෆික් ගල්ෆ් ඔෆ් මෙක්සිකෝ කියන සාගරයට කඩන් වැටෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ සෙකන්ඩ් ස්ටේජ් එක සෙකන්ඩ් ස්ටේජ් එක කක්ෂයෙන් 4-3 දුරක් ගමන් කරලා වායුගෝලයට ඇතුල් වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ පැසිෆික් සාගරයට කඩන් වැටෙනවා කියන්නේ පැසිෆික් සාගරයට තමයි අපි එකට කියනවා ස්මූත් ලෑන්ඩ් එකක් තමයි සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ තිරස් අතර ලස්සනට ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒක කඩන් වට්ටවයි. ඉතින් ඒක තමයි අද දවසේ තියෙන ප්ලෑන් එක. ඉතින් මේ මීටර 160ක් උස. මීටර 160ක් උස මේ ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එක අන්තිමේදී අද ලොන්ච් කරන්නයි යන්නේ. ඉතින් ඕක තමයි කේස් එක අද සිද්ධ වෙන. ඉතින් අපි බලාගෙන ඉමුවද මොකද සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ කියලා. ඊලෝන් x.ai කියලා කම්පැනි එකක් පටන් ගෙනද කියලා අහනවා. ඒක වෙන්නම් දන්නේ නැහැ බ්‍රෝ. ඒක ගැන මම හරියටම දන්නේ නැහැ. මම කොහොමත් AI ගැන ලයිව් එකක් එනවා. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා ඇති කෝෂිලා බාලසූරිය කියලා අක්කා කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා සයන්ස් ගැන හොඳටම දන්න. මං එයත් එක්ක මං එයාට කතා කළා ඔයාට මාත් එක්ක ලයිව් එකක් කරන්න එන්න පුළුවන්ද? ඔයාට කැමති සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකක් ගැන කියලා. මං ඉස්සෙල්ලාම එයාගෙන් ඇහුවේ එයා ගොඩක් මේ සයන්ස් පැත්තට කෙමිස්ට්‍රි පැත්ත ගොඩක් දන්න කෙනෙක්. ඉතින් මං එයාගෙන් ඇහුවා ඔයා කැමති ටොපික් එකක් තියෙනවද කියලා. එයා ඊට පස්සේ ඒ අක්කා කිව්වා මැෂින් ලර්නින් සහ AI ගැන තමයි යාට ගොඩක් ඉන්ට්‍රස්ට් එක තියෙන්නේ කියලා. ඉතින් අපි එයත් එක්ක AI ගැන කතා කරමු. AI සහ මැෂින් ලර්නින් ගැන. පොඩ්ඩක් බලමුද ස්පේස් ෆ්ලයිට්.
Oxygen side we're looking at on the right side.
Yeah, you can perfectly see it right now. The liquid oxygen subcoolers are on. You can see now how there is like a stream of condensation instead of the tank farm, which is very good. Like they are really conditioning this right now to be in an optimal state where they can cool down the propellants before they load it into the vehicle. And as of right now, if SpaceX doesn't confirm another time, we are 53 minutes away from them verifying go for propellant load.
Oh, that is so amazing. I cannot wait. And you can see there on the countdown milestones, we are just under an hour from if SpaceX chooses to go ahead and continue with their 8 a.m. Central Time, T0, we should be getting that final go for propellant load at 53 minutes away from now. So
tank
that'll
farm
happen
එක
exactly
ස්කූලින් අප්
T
වෙනවලු.
minus 2 hours. So we'll be standing
ඔයගොල්ලන්ට
by for
පේනවා මේ
information
වෙන්ට්
on
එකක් එනවා
that.
දැන් පොඩ්ඩ
But
පොඩ්ඩ.
we haven't heard anything specifically yet on how we'll go for launch they are. But Adrian, I'd say given the fact that the propellant farm is really chilling down right now on that. But we haven't heard anything specifically yet on how we'll go for launch day
විනාඩි 53කට
confirmation.
කලින් තමයි
attention on that. But we haven't heard anything specifically.
හරි
The pet vent that we have seen before, where there will be almost a waterfall plus almost liquids of frozen,
Every
like
day
it's
astronaut
not
like
even
පටන්
only
ගන්න
gas,
හදන්න.
it's sometimes even liquids raining down from the orbital launch mount. That's the final step we will see before. And we are all approaching that slowly but surely. It's still a bit away, but we are all slowly but surely approaching all of these things we want to see.
Yes, I am. It's so exciting that we're actually seeing these milestones coming on time. This is just so amazing and so exciting to see this all happening all at once, really. It's like I said, it seems like it came up out of nowhere, but it is so exciting to be seeing this.
එයාගේ
Gonna run through some
stream එක
support from
හතරයි
some
තියෙන
very
කල්දාලා
generous
මේ
people.
පැයක් කල්
Connor
ගියානේ
G
launch එක.
saying
Okay.
they have been following since the beginning of Starhop production. Man, that's a throwback way back to late 2018. I remember that, Connor, too. They're saying they're so excited and they're saying thanks for all the great coverage and hard work. Well, thank you, Connor. We appreciate that. And thank you for your support there as well. We have a ton of new memberships coming in, so thank you to everyone for supporting in that way. Thanos Panda here saying they've been watching our streams since SN5. Starship has literally changed their life. Godspeed, Starship, and good luck, SpaceX. Well, thank you very much, Thanos Panda. Great username there, and enjoy the show. Andy Y here showing an immense amount of generosity with a $100 tip. Thank you so much, Andy. We appreciate that so much. They're saying, thanks for all the coverage leading up to this moment. It's historic. I could not agree more, Andy. And yeah, thank you, Andy, for utilizing the tips function. Tips.nasaspaceflight.com is a great way to directly support the work that we do. So thank you to everyone who's using the tips feature there. Your messages, of course, will be showing up here in the queue alongside everyone else's.
It feels so crazy, Ian, because this launch date feels like it came out of nowhere, right? I feel like
Yeah.
it was always slipping. Starship was slipping for months and months and months, and it always like next month, or it was delayed again, and suddenly it just stopped, and it suddenly was there, and everybody was like, oh, they're really going for it, and
Yeah.
it's amazing to be on this day. I mean, we are still not like this. There's still a lot of things they have to get right before this thing can lift off, but we are on a legit and fully fleshed launch attempt. Like this is they're trying to go for it.
Yeah, it went very quickly from soon TM to now TM.
Perfect wording for that. Yes.
But that's exactly right, though. It just it kept going, like as I say, like one-to-one delays. Like every day it seemed to delay another day. Every week it seemed to delay to next week. But then all of a sudden they're like, okay, April 17th, and it hasn't delayed since. It's just so weird. And yeah,
Look at the lock subcoolers. They're going strong.
That's what we want to see.
Yep.
අර
that is
ventilation එක
exactly
සිද්ධ
what we
වෙන්නේ
want to see.
මේ
Excellent sign there that they are still going
tank
ahead for propellant
subcoolers
load.
වලින්
Now, of course,
ඒ
we're
subcoolers වලින්
just
තමයි
under
මේ
50 minutes away
liquid
from the final
oxygen
go for
සහ
propellant load. And then
methane
an hour
මේ
from
cool
now, just a
කරන්න
little over
chill
an hour from
කරන්න
now, we should have the beginning of propellant load on the vehicle. So great sign there that everything is continuing according to plan. Oh, let's see, gonna hop into a question here real quick. Oli Beast here. I'm gonna send this question over to you, Sawyer, saying how long will Starship take to get to Hawaii? So we know it's not going fully to orbit; it's gonna re-enter near Hawaii. How long is that trip expected to take?
It's a great question. We actually, ahead of the flight, did a whole video discussing the entire timeline, including what we're expecting post liftoff. Again, this is to note that SpaceX, even on their countdown, has this as best case scenario. Assuming everything goes as planned, it will take about an hour and a half for it to get all the way to its splashdown zone in Hawaii. So it will lift off. It will then do the main engine cutoff with the Starship engine cutoff about 9 minutes 20 seconds into flight, and then it will coast until about an hour 17 or so
මේ
into
තියෙන
flight,
trajectory එක
at which point it will re-enter. There will be no engine burns or anything to slow it down, and then about an hour and a half in, we should have splashdown.
Awesome. Thank you for that overview there, Sawyer. Now, I'm going to real quickly hop into some store messages. So again, as we said a few minutes ago, shop.nasaspaceflight.com is a great way to support the work that we do. And not only support the work that we do, it's a great way to get something back for your support. A great way to get some shirts, some metal prints. We also have some patches coming up. We have the full stack plushie, of course, also coming up there. So saying thanks to a few people who bought from our store. Thank you to Daniel. Let's see. Thank you to Ian. I love the name. Saying thanks for their love of spaceflight and changing their life. Good name, Ian. Justin here saying their first purchase, hopefully first of many. Thank you, Justin. Sue, thank you as well. Aaron with the store message saying let's go. Haley saying they're excited for the launch. Jerry saying they missed the first line of plushies and they're excited about this one. So thank you very much, Jerry. We appreciate that support. Christopher as well with a store purchase. Thank you very much. Chris also saying they're mighty things. Oliver from the UK, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Let's see, we'll do some more store messages. John, thank you so much, saying they haven't slept. It was tough for me to get some sleep too. I'm running off about 3 to 4 hours of sleep, and I'm running on pure adrenaline and chocolate milk right now. So we'll see how long that lasts.
I wish I had 3 hours.
Ugh.
So I shouldn't say that I actually got like 5 hours of sleep.
Hey, that's impressive. It was very sad last night, setting my alarm and saying alarm set for 4 hours and 45 minutes from now. Anyway, Jan, thank you for the store purchase. Jamie as well, saying reach for the stars.
Look at this scene right now. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but
You're good.
look at all this venting. Look at everything, like being slowly in the clouds here. It's really going. They're really conditioning this tank farm, and this is what we want to see. This looks so good, and I am getting a bit optimistic here for this. I'm really
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, it really feels like they're going to do a launch attempt. They're going to attempt to launch this thing, which even that in itself, getting a launch attempt today would be an amazing, amazing milestone and a ton of data for the team to go over. So no matter what happens today, honestly, it is just a ton of data from the team. And we're getting some info here from Alex.
ඒ වගේම තමයි ඇත්තරම කිව්වොත් මේ අද ටෙස්ට් ෆ්ලයිට් එක සිද්ධ කරන්නේ මේ ගොඩාක් ඩේටා ලබා ගන්න, දත්ත ලබා ගන්න. මේ ටෙස්ට් ෆ්ලයිට් එකෙන් ඒගොල්ලෝ කිසිම ලාභයක්වත් කොහොමද අද ලාභයක් සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ නැහැ, පාඩුවක් සිද්ධ වුණත් බොහෝ දුරට මේ බූස්ටර් 7 එක සහ ෂිප් 24 එක අද විනාශ වෙලා යන්න ඉඩ තියෙනවා. බූස්ටර් 7 එක වතුරට වැටුණාට පස්සේ බොහෝ දුරට SpaceX සමාගමෙන් කියලා තියෙනවා මේකේ තියෙන වැල් වගේක් ඒ වැල් ඕපන් වෙලා ඒක මේ බූස්ටර් එක ඇතුළට වතුර යනවා. නැත්නම් එහෙම තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒක රිකවර් කරගන්න ඉන්නේ. නැත්නම් SpaceX සමාගමේ නැව් කිහිපයක් ඒ අවට මුහුදේ තියෙනවා. ඒ කණ්ඩායම් බූස්ට් එකට වෙඩි තියලා තුවක්කු වලින් වෙඩි තියලා ඒක සිදුරු කරලා ඇතුළට වතුර යවනවා කියලා තමයි කියලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම ෂිප් 24 එකේ හීට් ෂීල්ඩ් එක ගැන අපිට ගොඩාක් විශ්වාසය තියන්න බෑ. හීට් ෂීල්ඩ් එකේ තියෙන ටයිල්ස් ඔගොල්ලෝ දැකලා ඇති අර ෂීල්ඩ් එකේ පැත්තක කළු පාට ටයිල්ස් අල්ලලා තියෙනවා. ඔගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා ඇති සාමාන්‍යයෙන් හීට් ෂීල්ඩ් එක ටයිල්ස් අල්ලන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා මෙහෙම මුක්කු ගහලා එහෙම තමයි ඉස්සර ස්පේස් ෂටල් එකේ එහෙම හීට් ෂීල්ඩ් ටයිල්ස් අල්ලලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් අද මේ ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකේ හීට් ෂීල්ඩ් ගැනත් එහෙම ලොකු විශ්වාසයක් නැහැ. අනික මේක orbital velocity එකට නැත්තම් කක්ෂීය ප්‍රවේගයකට ළඟා වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ. මේක වතුරට වැටුණාට පස්සේ බොහෝ දුරට නැවත භාවිතයකට ගන්නෙත් නැහැ. හැබැයි අද ඒගොල්ලොන්ට මේකෙන් විශාල දත්ත ප්‍රමාණයක් එකතු කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඊළඟ බූස්ටර් 9 එක සහ ෂිප් 2506 එක ලොන්ච් කරද්දි ඒගොල්ලොන්ට ඒ දත්ත ගොඩාක් වැදගත් වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ දත්ත ලබා ගන්න තමයි අද මේ ලොන්ච් එක සිද්ධ කරන්නේ.
That is going to be no. There's potentially something in there, maybe, because it's a first flight, as they've done in the past with Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, but there is no official payload, and if anything, the payload bay the PEZ dispenser, as we like to call it, which is where they will eventually start deploying Starlink satellites and other payloads, is welded shut on this one. So if there is anything in there, there's no chance of it getting deployed. So basically, is there something in there? Maybe. But it does have a PEZ dispenser that is useless.
Gotcha. So any satellites in there are stuck in there, and they will be coming down over the Pacific.
Pretty much.
Very cool. Let's see. From Sugman here asking, what engine does Starship use, and what is his potential maximum speed? So, Sawyer, any numbers on that? So, what engines are Starship and Super Heavy using, and any idea on the max velocity they could be hitting?
Yeah, so the engines that they are using are called Raptor V2. So obviously they've had the Raptor V1s. This is the second version of that, which, as we mentioned, burn the liquid oxygen and the liquid methane. So there's two different kinds. There is the sea level engines and the vacuum level engines.
ඒ වගේම
So
මේ
I guess it
ස්ටාර්ෂිප්
kind of
එක
depends on which one you're talking
කක්ෂයට
about,
අරන් ගියාට
but
පස්සේ
basically
අද ඔගොල්ලෝ දන්නේ නැති sea level engine තුනක් තියෙනවා ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකේ. ඒ වගේම vacuum engines තුනක් තියෙනවා. vacuum engine තුනට අමතරව sea level engine තුනත් අද on කරනවා කියලා තමයි කියලා තියෙන්නේ. ලෝඩ් වෙනවා. ඒ මොකද ඒගොල්ලොන්ට වැකුම් එන්ජින් තුනෙන් විතරක් ඒගොල්ලොන්ට අද බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන මේ තෙරපුම් බලය ලබා ගන්න බෑ කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ. ඒ හින්දා ඒගොල්ලෝ අද sea level engine තුනත් සහ වැකුම් එන්ජින් තුනත් on කරනවා.
How many cameras do we have pointed at this candle? So we have many cameras available. We have some of them arranged in a multi-view. And here, Cody Craker is asking, how do we watch the multi-view? Well, if you want to tune into the multi-view with, like I said, 27 different camera angles on there, just become a Red Team member of the channel. You get access to our 27 camera multi-view, which shows them in a 3x3 configuration, cycling through every few seconds. So if you want to tune into the multi-view here, we actually have a graphic here. Look at all those cameras. Now it cycles through those 9 cameras every few seconds. You get a ton of different views all around Starbase. If you don't want to see just the single camera we have on the right side of the screen here, why not multiply that by 27 and get 27 different camera views? So great way to support us, becoming a Red Team member, and you get access to the multi-view, which we talked about earlier. We have our own internal multi-view for bug fixing cameras, getting an idea of what every camera is looking at. And that's legitimately the only one that I look at anymore. I don't look at Starbase Live. I'm always looking at the multi-view. So, highly recommend it. Again, Red Team.
ආය කතා කළොත් මේකේ බූස්ට් එක ගැන ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකේ බූස්ට් එක අද රිකවරි කරගන්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මේක ලොන්ච් වුණොත් ඕගොල්ලෝ අන්තිම පාට තමයි මේ බූස්ට් එක අද දකින්නේ. ඕගොල්ලන්ට ආයේ බූස්ට් එක දකින්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මේ බූස්ට් එක සුපර් හෙවි බූස්ට් එක මේ ලොන්ච් එකෙන් පස්සේ ස්ටේට් සෙපරේෂන් එකෙන් පස්සේ මේක සිරස් අතට ගල්ෆ් ඔෆ් මෙක්සිකෝ කියන සාගරයට කඩන් වැටෙනවා සිරස් අතට. ඊට පස්සේ සිරස් අතට කඩන් වැටුණාට පස්සේ ඒක තිරස් අතට මුහුද මතට පතිත වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ ඒකේ තියෙන වෑල්ව් හරහා බූස්ට් එක ඇතුළට වතුර පිරෙනවා. ඒ වතුර පිරුණාට පස්සේ බූස්ට් එක මුහුදේ පතුලට ගමන් කරනවා. ඉතින් ඊට පස්සේ ආයි බූස්ට් එක බලා ගන්න වෙන්නේ.
Have some head venting here. That's
Yes, we do. We have an OLM vent.
Wow,
that
that's
looks
a
like
big
the OLM
milestone.
vent spooling up.
Now, Adrian, why are they venting from the OLM right now? What is this
This-
getting ready for?
This is a line purge. They will right now prepare the lines for loading cryogenics into the booster. This is basically the last major step before propellant loading into the booster. So
Wow.
they're getting there. This is really, really good right now.
Super exciting there. And again, if we could bring up the countdown milestone.
මේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පේනවා ඇති orbital launch mount එකෙන් මේ purge එකක් ඒ කියන්නේ මේ දුමක් වගේ යනවා දැක්ක ඇති ඔයගොල්ලෝ. මේකට කියන්නේ purge කරනවා කියලා. මේ සිද්ධ කරන්නේ ප්‍රොපලන් ලෝඩිං කරන්න කලින් මේ ෆියල් ලයින්ස් වල තියෙන ඇතුළ තියෙන දේවල් මේ නයිට්‍රජන් හරහා ඒ ෆියල් ලයින් සුද්ධ කරන එක තමයි මේ කරන්නේ විශාල පීඩනයකින් නයිට්‍රජන් ඇතුල් කරලා මේ ප්‍රොපලන් ලෝඩින් කරන්න කලින් මේ ෆියල් ලයින් සුද්ධ කරන එක තමයි මේ කරන්නේ
The next major milestone that we are looking at right now, loading on the booster. So very, very big milestones happening right here. And again, a nice close-up shot there of the propellant, the OLM venting. Excellent, excellent to see there. Now real quick, moving over
විනාඩි
to some
36කින්
people, giving us some
ප්‍රොපලන්
amazing
ලෝඩ්
support
කරනවද
here.
නැද්ද
Of
කියලා
course, I lost my spot in the queue. But thank you to Methane
දැනුම්
Man for
දෙනවා
gifting 50 red team
T
memberships.
minus 2
That is
hours
an
වලින් තමයි
amazing, amazing amount of
ප්‍රොපලන්
generosity,
ලෝඩ්
Methane
කරනවද
Man.
නැද්ද කියලා
50
දැනුම් දෙන්නේ
memberships.
හරියට
So because of Methane Man here, 50 people now have access to the multi-view, which again is available to anyone with red team or higher memberships to NSF. So thank you, thank you Methane Man for that support, and to everyone who got a gifted membership from Mold Methane Man, be sure to give them a thank you there. Now, as we have seen some big milestones here, we're going to give a bit of a break to Adrian here. Going to let him get a little bit of a breather and get ready closer to liftoff. So we have Adrian heading out, but we have someone else coming in. So Adrian, thank you
F4
very much for
booster,
tuning
F4
in.
booster,
Best of luck
RIP
if we don't
booster.
get to speak to you again before.
ඕල දන්නවත් දැන් වෙලාව කියද කියලා ස්ටා බේස් එකට 4:24 පාන්දර නෙමෙයි උදේනේ
Everywhere was still quite quiet, a little bit, don't really look like much was going on. And now suddenly we've got, I think that's the N2 vent, we've got the OLM vent, everything's starting to spool up, and it's like, oh, they're actually going to do it. So I don't want to say they are going to go for it, but the sun should be rising soon, and it actually looks like this is going to happen. And I'm struggling to believe it a bit.
Right? It hasn't really set in for me either that this is like, hey, this is just happening now. Like, what? This is crazy.
Yeah, it's got the same kind of vibe as a wet dress rehearsal, but there's just something in the back of your head that goes, no, this isn't just a wet dress. There's something special here.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, honestly. Run through a little bit more support that we have here from Magnatum with a 75-pound super chat, the squiggly L's as Jack likes to call them, saying thanks for everything we do. Not only do they find it fascinating, but they've helped them set one of their kids on a path to a future career in aerospace engineering.
මේ වෙනකොට බොකාචිකා බීච් එක ඉතිරිලා ගිහිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ මිනිස්සුන්ගේ හැබැයි ඊයේ රෑ ආපු කට්ටිය තමයි දැන් ආයෙ යන්න බෑ ඒගොල්ලෝ පාර වහලා තියෙන්නේ ප්ලෑඩ් එක ක්ලියර් කරලා මුළු ඒරියා එකම දැන් ක්ලියර් කරලා තියෙන්නේ හැබැයි ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තව ටිකකින් ඩයිනමික් බොස්ටන් ලගේ රොබෝ බල්ලෙක් නම් බලාගත්ත හැකි ඔයාලා දැකලා ඇති ඩයිනමික් බොස්ටන් එකේ මේ රොබෝටික් ඩොග් කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා ස්පේස් එක්ස් එකට ඔය වගේ වෙලාවට ළඟට ගිහිල්ලා බලන්න පුළුවන්
Moving to some more questions. Starman here. I'm going to toss this to you, Sawyer, actually, real quick. They're saying, what color will Super Heavy's flames be? So what color will the exhaust be, Sawyer? What are we expecting?
Well, I guess in the intro we have the shot where it's orange. In this case, it'll start orange and then it's blue. So again, it is methane. Methane does burn blue, as we've seen from the static fires and as we've seen from Terran 1, which also used methalox. It starts off kind of more on the reddish hue, and then as it starts to go up, you'll notice it becoming more blue. So it'll start kind of orangish, then blue, then a sort of dark purple
what color will super
So
heavy
in theory, it
flames be
should
කියලා
work
අහනවා
its way to blue.
මේ super heavy boost එකෙන් engine වලින් නිකුත් වෙන thrust එකේ තෙරපුම් බලේ පාට මොකක්ද කියලා අහන්නේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා ඇති Falcon 9 rocket එක භාවිතා කරන්නේ කෙරෝසින් ඒ RP1 ඒ වගේම liquid oxygen අපි එකට කියනවා liquid oxygen සහ කෙරෝසින් භාවිතා කරන Falcon rocket එකේ flames එන්නේ තැඹිලි පාටින්. හැබැයි මීතේන් මේකේ භාවිතා කරන්නේ මේ මෙතොලොක්ස් ඒ කියන්නේ liquid methane සහ liquid oxygen liquid methane සහ liquid oxygen වල පාට තමයි නිල් පාට. අපිට මේකේ flames බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් ඉන්නේ නිල් පාටි.
Mine's back to 2018, 19, CRS 16, whenever that was. There was a malfunction with the hydraulic systems controlling the grid fins on the Falcon 9, and that performed a soft water landing in the Atlantic, just off the coast of landing zone 1 in Florida.
පටන්
So
ගත්තෙන් පැය
if you
7කට
want
විතර කලින් මම පටන් ගත්ත වෙලේ ඉඳලා මේක
kind of
බලාගෙන
get an
ඉන්නේ.
idea of what the super
පැය
heavy booster will
පහමාරකට
be
කලින්
doing,
පටන් ගන්න.
just think CRS 16, but intentionally, not unintentionally. And
තා
just
පැය
looking
දෙකමාරයි
through
තියෙන්නේ.
it, there is so much support coming in at the moment, and it is just incredible to see.
ඊයේ මේ
There is so many messages in here.
මේක
and
ලොක්කොම මේ ලයිට් සිස්ටම්
I
එක
feel like
චෙක්
we should
කළා.
probably go through them, but it's
මේ
just, there are
orbital
just
tank
so
farm
many
එකට මේ
that
අලුතෙන්
wanna-
light system එක
sounds like
install
a
කරේ
broken
මේ
record,
දැන්
so
දවස් 3කට විතර
I'm
කලින්.
gonna
orbital
attempt
tank farm
to
එකට light
go
system
through
එක
a
දැන්.
few here, and then we'll see how it goes. So where should we start off? Let's go off with
මේ quick disconnect arms වලින් ඉතාමත් වේගයෙන් ප්‍රොපලන් ලෝඩ් කරන්න පුළුවන් බූස්ට් එකට. මම quick disconnect arm ගැන නැවත වතාවක් කිව්වොත් එහෙම quick disconnect arms දෙකක් තියෙනවා Starship එකේ. එකක් තියෙන first stage එකට. first stage එකේ තියෙනවා quick disconnect arm එකයි second stage එකේ තියෙන quick disconnect arm එකයි. මේ quick disconnect arms වලින් කරන්නේ මේ Starship එකේ තියෙන avionics සහ ප්‍රධානම දේ තමයි propellant loading. ඉතාමත් වේගයෙන් propellant loading කරන තමයි ඉන්ධන පුරවන්න තමයි මේ quick disconnect arm හදලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම මේ Starship එකේ තියෙන electronic systems avionics ground system එක combine කරන්නත් තමයි quick disconnect arms තියෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම මගෙන් එක්කෙනෙක් ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහලා තිබ්බ එක දවසක් නෙමෙයි මම හිතන්නේ ඊයේද කොහෙද අර ඒ කියන්නේ super heavy boost එක දැන් සාමාන්‍ය rocket එකක් thrust එක ඒ කියන්නේ engine on කරලා thrust එක එළියට ආපු ගමන් උඩ යන්නේ නැහනේ. අර ටික වෙලාවක් thrust එක තප්පර දෙක තුනක් thrust එක තිබුණාට පස්සේ තමයි rocket එක උඩ යන්න ගන්නේ. එතකොට එයාමගෙන් අහලා තිබ්බේ ඇයි ඒ thrust එක ඔන්න උන ගමන් rocket එක උඩ යන්නේ නැත්තේ කියලා. එකක් තමයි මේ rocket එක අන්තිම විනාඩි ගොඩාක් rockets අන්තිම විනාඩි කිහිපයේදී ඒ rocket එකේ control එක ඒ rocket එකේ flight computer එක අතර ගන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ පිටින් තියෙන parameters වලට බෑ rocket එකට බාධාවක් කරන්න. rocket එකට විසින්ම තමයි rocket එක abort කරනවා නම් කරන්න rocket එක පාලනේ තියෙන rocket එක ඇත. එතකොට launch directors ලට පුළුවන් launch room එකට පුළුවන් මේ launch room එකට කිසිම දෙයක් කරන්න බෑ abort කරන්න විතරයි පුළුවන්. ඉතින් මේ අන්තිම විනාඩි කිහිපයේදී මේ පාලන බලය rocket එක අතර ගන්නවා. ඒ ගත්තට පස්සේ මං කිව්වේ දැන් T-0 ඒ කියන්නේ T-0 පහවෙලා තප්පරයකින් thrust එක on වෙනවා. thrust එක 100ට 100ක තත්ත්වයට එන්නත් ඕනේ. ඒ වගේම තව parameters 100 ගාණක් තියෙනවා. ඒ ඔක්කොම ඒ conditions true වෙලා එන්න ඕනේ මේ රොකට් එක උඩ යනවද නැද්ද කියලා තීරණය කරන්න. ඒ තීරණය කරන්නේ රොකට් එක විසින්මයි. රොකට් එක විසින්ම තමයි තමන්ගේ රොකට් එකේ තියෙන සියලු එවියෝනික්ස් ප්‍රපල්ෂන් රොකට් එන්ජින්ස් මේ සියලු පැරමීට සිය ගානක් තියෙනවා. ඒ සිය ගානම ට්‍රූ හරියට වැඩ කරනවාද කියලා රොකට් එක විසින්ම චෙක් කරගත්තට පස්සේ තමයි රොකට් එක රිලීස් වෙන්නේ ඉහළහසට යන්න. ඒකයි ත්‍රස්ට් එක ඔන්නුන ගමන් රොකට් එකක් ඉහළහසට ගමන් කරන්න නැත්තේ.
Because this is about to get even more exciting than it already is. I'm going to look through for an interesting question to ask here. Ian, I believe you're back now, so we'll direct this one to you. This is a good question here from Roger, actually. I'm a little bit nervous about the orbital launch mount surviving when liftoff happens. Have they tested the sealing of the clamps after rapid closure, Ian? What do we know about the clamps that hold down the booster? Have they been tested?
Oh yes, they've been tested multiple times. So the quick disconnect umbilicals, so the booster and ship have been tested, retracting multiple times. That has all gone off well. You actually see the drone there in the bottom right-hand corner. But anyway, the hold downs on the OLM themselves have also been tested multiple times. Of course, not using an actual booster, so this kind of will be a semi-all-up test of all these different systems here. So yes, everything with the pad here has been tested. This is just kind of the final. Let's get all the band back together and do a full rundown of everything. Excuse me, of everything.
And we have a question here from Yachi Reiki. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Sawyer, do we have, I know we worked on the timeline video together, do we have any idea of when Ship 24 will reach, or Ship 24 and Booster 7 will reach max Q?
That's a great question. Again, according to their best case scenario timeline, meaning that this could change, especially since it is a test flight and the first flight, they're expecting max Q around 55 seconds into flight. For comparison, for a Starlink Falcon 9 mission, that's typically about T plus 1 minute and 16 seconds into flight. Sometimes T minus 1 minute, 10 seconds, depending on the orbit it's going into. So about 15 to 20 seconds sooner than we would see typically on a Falcon 9 launch. And for those who are unaware, this is a major milestone in the flight itself, because max Q is when the vehicle is experiencing the most stress on it. For me, that's usually just when I'm trying to do taxes, but that is the peak aerodynamic stress on the rocket itself. So that's when it's going through the most forces, and making it through that would be huge.
I'm just going through here with the members. So many people have become Red Team members this morning in Starbase. It's incredible to see. So thank you so much to everyone. Again,
Oh,
I've
the
said it before, I'll say it
ventilation
again,
එක.
sorry we can't be reading out every single message that you guys are sending in, but just know it is greatly appreciated, all of the support that you are giving us over the last few days in this lead up to what is hopefully today going to be the maiden orbital-ish integrated Starship flight test. Give it whatever name you want to give it, but yeah, I'm still going to call it OFT1 just because that's what we've been calling it for the last 2-3 years. It's easier than just changing the name. a week before launch because that's what SpaceX decided to call it. And I'm going to look for a question here from Starman. Very nice name. Would the heat shield tiles need replacement for reflight? Ian, what is the plan with the heat shield tiles?
Yeah, so the heat shield tiles are really, it's going to depend on, you know, what happens with the actual flights. Now, in terms of reflying them, that's going to come with when SpaceX actually recovers a booster. Now, we don't know exactly how the heat shield is going to perform during flight. We've seen during many previous flights, like the suborbital flights and the static fires, that many tiles have fallen off. So if they do fall off and if the ship still manages to survive re-entry, then yes, you would need to replace those. If any heat shield tile manages to crack either on final descent or at landing, those would need to be replaced as well. But like I said, we are still a while away from any reflight of Starship, and probably a little while away too from any recovery of Starship. So it's going to be a while before SpaceX needs to worry about that. So yes, there likely will need to be some heat shield tile replacements after the first ship lands, but that is going to be a little while away to be determined.
And there is a question here, many questions about timelines here from Ashok. So Sawyer, I'll throw this one over to you. What is the duration of the test flight? How long is Starship in orbit? Well, on its trajectory to Hawaii. And at what time will the ship and the booster splash down? Sawyer, give us some timeline details. You talking about muted, Sawyer?
Oh yes,
Are you
thank
there?
you very much. Sorry. Yes, keeping in mind that this is all best case scenario, and there's a chance that the time may change either forward or backward, and that the vehicle might not exist at certain time marks here. But essentially, the goal is that the booster will cut off around 2 minutes 50 seconds into flight, at which point it will separate away and begin a boost back burn at T plus 3 minutes and 11 seconds. In between that time, you will have Starship
Timeline
igniting
එකට
its
එනවා.
engines at 2 minutes 57 seconds or so into flight. The boost back burn will last for about a minute before going transonic and doing a landing burn at about 7 minutes and 40 seconds into flight before hopefully splashing down in the Gulf of Mexico about 8 minutes later. Starship's engines will fire until about T plus 9 minutes and 20 seconds into flight, at which point it will coast for quite a while until we get to re-entry at T plus 1 hour and 17 minutes or so. And a reminder, there is no landing burn for Starship. It's just the trajectory it's on will have it re-enter. It's expected to then go transonic below the speed of sound at an hour 28 into flight, with splashdown near Hawaii an hour and a half after liftoff.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Sawyer. Aaron Hyde has a question here. Where is the Launch Control Center at Starbase controlling this pad and refueling? Now, Ian, could you give us a little rundown of what controlling facilities we have at Starbase?
Yeah, so first off, the first control facility where they control a lot of the testing, so the static fires, the cryoproofs, the wet dress rehearsals, and so on, that is at the Stargate building. Now that is basically smack dab in the middle of the production site, about 1.5 miles away from the launch site. Now, of course, that is well within the keep out area, the blast danger zone of this flight. So in order to keep, people safe and away from any danger in case anything happens here, they have a secondary mission control center. Now, this is further down Highway 4 near the Ad Astra School. That's actually right at the checkpoint, the hard checkpoint where no one is allowed past. So they have two mission control centers down in Boca Chica. Now, it is important to note that they are not controlling this out of Hawthorne. This is not being controlled out of the Falcon 9 mission control at SpaceX's headquarters. However, I would not be shocked, if they have a nice viewing party going there right now. But this is controlled entirely from Starbase a few miles down the road near the Ad Astra School. That is your secondary mission control site at Boca Chica.
I'm just going to thank Lisa, who's upgraded to a launch director. That's a big membership there. And there is a question here from Barath, I think. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Why did this is going back many years now? Why did SpaceX decrease the diameter from 12 meters on the interplanetary transport system to just I say just 9 meters, just 9 meters on Starship? It's still a very wide vehicle, isn't it, Sawyer? But do we know why they decided to thin down the ship?
I mean, it all comes down to efficiency, would be my guess. I don't know if there was ever an official reason released as to why, but at this point, you've got all the fuel that you need to complete the missions with the 9-meter diameter, and it's a little more controlled at that point, a lot less wide, a lot less chance of things getting knocked by wind. So I don't know the exact reason, but in the end, it makes sense just to simplify things down if you can.
Sounds good. And we actually have some news here to bring you to do with the WB-57 aircraft, which is going to be used to observe the launch. These are operated by NASA and based out of Houston, and the flight path for WB-57 927, so that's what is that? That's November 927, November Alpha. That has been published. So we can actually see where that aircraft is going to fly. And there you go. So it has hang on, I'm just going to quickly convert this. It has a filed altitude of 13,710 meters. That is just shy of 45,000 feet for those of you who are more accustomed to normal aviation units. It's the flight plan is scheduled, says the WB-57 is scheduled for departure from Houston at 6 o'clock in the morning Central Daylight Time. However, it's predicting 10 minutes past 6 and then a landing at a 10:44. So that is the flight plan and the timings for the WB-57. So if NASA is getting ready to fly out the aircraft, then surely that means SpaceX are on track for a 8 o'clock liftoff, or that's at least the last we officially heard through Twitter. So yeah, that's very exciting indeed, Ian. This aircraft is pretty much ready for departure.
Yeah, and if anyone's unaware, the WB-57 is NASA's high-altitude imagery plane. Now, those are often used for things like reentries. So if you're watching, say, a Crew Dragon reentry webcast, and you suddenly see, hey, there's this weird tracking overlay with the fireball, that is likely from the WB-57. Now, like Brian said, it's operating from very high, about 13 kilometers up, which is pretty high for a plane. Now, NASA has two of these planes. This is call sign 927. The call sign 926 plane did fly yesterday, but there is no published flight plan for it flying today. So this is call sign 927, lifting off from Ellington Field in about 25 minutes, actually. So coming up very soon on what should be the liftoff of the WB-57. We'll definitely keep an eye on that, and if/when that lifts off will be another indication as to when exactly SpaceX is getting ready for launch.
Sounds good, Ian. Thank you very much. An interesting question here from Apollo asking, what is the point of a launch window? It is just orbiting, so unless it's attempting a rendezvous, is there a need for a launch window? Now, Sawyer, why does Starship have a launch window if it isn't, I don't know, trying to rendezvous with the ISS or get a transfer window out to the moon or Mars or something like that?
That's a really good question, and I do want to clarify that we'll not be doing a complete orbit. It'll be close, but that's a whole nother can of worms. To answer this question in particular, even though it's not targeting anywhere specific, you have to close down all of the waterways around Starbase. You have to close the airways around Starbase for this launch window, all of which are very busy. So you don't want to keep those closed for any longer than you have to. So that's typically why, in this case, it's a 150-minute or 2.5-hour window, of which they're currently targeting 1 hour into it. Beyond that, you also have to keep an eye out for satellites that are flying overhead. So even though we have this 2.5-hour launch window, there will likely be cutouts or parts in the window where there won't be able to launch because another satellite would be directly overhead or in its path that it could possibly hit. So that's the whole deal with the launch windows.
I just want to quickly point out this big contribution from Craig, 100 USD. Thank you so much. Saying, been with you since the beginning. Go SpaceX, go NSF. introduce yourselves again, please. Many newbies don't know you. Well, I'll just go around the room here. So the voices you've been hearing over the last few minutes since I joined, I'm Ryan Caton. We also have alongside me, Christ, that was very Norfolk. Alongside me, we have an Ian Atkinson. How you doing, Ian?
Hello, I'm doing great. Tired
NSF live එක 60,000 බලන් ඉන්නවා.
Starship, that is for sure.
And also, the voice you've been hearing, the other voice you've been hearing, is a Sawyer Rosenstein.
This is getting exciting. It's getting real. We are continuing in, and everything appears to be on track at the moment, with the next major milestone being the go for fueling at T-minus 2 hours.
We are approaching.
ඊළඟට තියෙන විශේෂම මයිල්ස්ටෝන් එක තමයි go for propellant loading කියන කෝල් එක. propellant load කරන්න කියලා කමාන්ඩ් එක දෙන්න ඕනේ මේකට ඉන්ධන සහ liquid oxygen පොම්ප එක.
Been so far out for so long, and it's always been like, oh, the orbital flight test. It almost felt like it was never actually going to happen, and yet here we are on launch day with just over 2 hours to go until the first potential T0 time. It is very, very exciting. There's a question here from Robert asking, isn't this the first orbital class launch ever where all hardware is configured to return to Earth? Now, Ian, do we know about any historical launches which could have reached orbit but were like this, right, just a test launch, and it wasn't designed to reach orbit?
I think this actually would have that that designation. Now, the only other one that comes to mind would be STS-1. However, the external tank on all of the shuttle missions never came back to Earth in one piece. The solid rocket boosters were always attempted to be recovered. The shuttle was always recovered. So I would say this would take the cake, yes, for the first ever orbital launch, where all of the hardware is set to return to Earth in some sort of intact manner.
And there is also a question here from Jew Hack asking, will Starship be landing with its signature belly flop into the ocean? That's a big belly flop into the water. Well, it will be a big belly flop indeed. Now, Sawyer, what do we know about these ships' return to Earth?
As for the return to Earth, we are expected to see it come in with that belly flop, as you mentioned, where it literally has the heat shield tiles underneath it that will hopefully absorb all of the heat as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. The one thing that we won't see, that we've seen especially during the hop tests, SN 8 through 11 and 15, is that flip maneuver where it then rights itself after it does the belly flop. We will not be seeing that on this particular mission, and we are not expected to have the ship itself recovered. So, like you said, it's going to be a big belly flop that likely will see the end of Ship 24.
And there's a question here, which I just selected. Store is asking, how much fuel will Starship take in milliliters? Now, I'm afraid to say, Starship's a bit bigger than millimeters. We're talking kiloliters, perhaps? I don't know. Certainly liters, not milliliters. Ian, do we know how much fuel can physically fit inside of both the booster and the ship?
So the full propellant load on Starship for I believe this is the full stack is 1,200 tons. Now I am way too hyped up on adrenaline to do any density calculations, but if anyone would like to do that, it's near 50-50 split of methane and oxygen. That'll get you close enough. Do some density calculations there. I am not in the mental space right now to do that. So if anyone does, that'd be great. But yeah, about 1,200 tons combined propellant of methane and oxygen.
And we also have a question here, Sawyer. I know we worked on a video about this together last week now. Can you explain how stage separation will work for Starship? So, Sawyer, how will the ship, fingers crossed, separate from the booster in just over 2 hours' time?
So there is sort of like a pin, it almost looks like, that sticks up from the top of the first stage where the second stage is kind of hooked into in a way. Once the engines shut down on that first stage, it's going to use good old gravity to kind of help it separate and centripetal force. So basically, it's going to give itself a little bit of a spin, and that force will help separate it away. This is very similar to what SpaceX did with the Starlink V1s and many of the V1.5 satellites, in that there would be a bar that kind of holds them in place. They would start spinning it, and then the bar would release, and all of the individual
And I
Starlink
think that's
satellites
another
would fly out.
OLM vent we can see there, Sawyer. I'm not sure. Is that another OLM vent?
Appears to be.
Very
Yeah.
strong vent.
It is not in waterfall mode yet, but that is definitely strong.
Yep, big gaseous vent. The waterfall will be very obvious because it looks like a waterfall of cryogenic propellants. Right now, they are still probably priming the lines down, chilling them down, getting them ready to start flowing cryogenic propellants through there.
Yeah, so
And,
get ready for that waterfall because that is spectacular from the OLM. Don't go anywhere because this is about to get very, very, very exciting.
And we're being told in the back channel, sorry, real quick, Ryan, we're being told in the back channel that it is beginning to whistle, you can hear, which is a sign that waterfall vent mode, which is a major sign that they're about to go into propellant mode, is coming up very soon. Now, we're about 6 minutes away from when we should get that final go for propellant load. So getting into the real big parts of the countdown here just momentarily. So stick around.
And before we hit that waterfall vent, I'm just going to quickly run through some of the contributions we've been getting over the last 10 minutes or so. Thank you, everybody, for these. Again, we're really quite tougher time here with the OLM waterfall coming very shortly. So I'm just going to quickly go through these. Thanks, John, for this $20 super chat. That is greatly appreciated. We have a store message here from Candice. Thank you very much. Mark with the 30 Australian dollars. And we also have a couple more super chats here. So thank you, everybody, for these different contributions. Again, sorry we can't read out all of your messages, but we really want to try and get through as many different contributions as well. And thank you, Satoshi, for gifting 10 Red Team memberships. That means that 10 new people can get access to the multi-view, and so can the Doctor 907. You've just become a Red Team member, so you get access to the multi-view as well. Rai is asking, what records is as a rocket is Starship breaking or coming close to breaking? Now, Sawyer, do you have on hand? I suspect Starship will be breaking many records upon launch, but what are the most important records or the biggest records that Starship will be breaking?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, there's going to be a lot of firsts. Obviously, this will be the largest vehicle ever launched. It is expected to be the heaviest vehicle ever launched. At liftoff, it is expected to be the most powerful, and will also have the most engines ignited at any given moment with 33, beating the current record held by, well, Starship during its static fire with 31, and beating the N1, which got into flight with 30, although never to orbit.
I'm just having a look here. We're approaching 5 minutes to 6 local time in the morning. I'm trying to see if the transponder on the WB-57 is
And I
turned on
believe
yet,
the
and I can't
OLM is
see
going
anything.
into waterfall mode right now.
There we go. Thanks, Ian. Yep. So you can see the vent has increased in size dramatically. That is waterfall mode, which you can see there now starting to kind of just spool over onto the marshland around the launch site. I'm going to try and hit a question or two whilst we're watching this waterfall vent in action. Once again, if you're just joining us, this is a very big indication that in 4 minutes time we will be go for propellant load. At that point we'll then see ship 24 and booster number 7 filled with liquid oxygen and liquid methane in preparation for a launch coming up now in just 2 hours time. So Ian, from what we're seeing with these vents at least, it seems as if 8 AM local time is still being targeted for the maiden flight, correct?
Yes, that definitely does seem like the status right now. And of course, in just over 3 minutes, we will find out the exact time that they're figuring out, that they're planning on their T0 for. Now, again, like you said, 8 AM Central Time is the current estimated T0 based on all the activity that we're seeing right now. But in just 3 minutes, we should get the final go for propellant load from the SpaceX launch director. And if we do get that on time, that means we're targeting a T0 of 2 hours from right now.
And I do just want to clarify in terms of the fueling begins with the booster first. That is
විනාඩි
the liquid
දෙකකින්
oxygen and the liquid.
දැනුම් දෙනවා විධානයල කමාන්ඩ් එක එනවා ප්‍රොපෙලර් ලෝඩ් කරනවද නැද්ද කියලා. ඒ වගේම තව දෙයක් කියන්න තියෙනවා. අද හැමෝම අහනවා මේ මැක්ස් කිව් ගැන. ඔකට දන්න ඇති මැක්ස් කිව් කියන්නේ ස්පේස් රොකට් එකේ වැඩිම එරෝඩයිනමික් වායු ගතික බලය නිපද වෙන තැන මැක්ස් කිව් කියන ලක්ෂය තියෙන්නේ හරියටම කොතනද කියලා. දැන් ෆැල්කන් 9 රොකට් එකේ නම් මැක්ස් කිව් ලක්ෂය එන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට රොකට් ලොන්ච් එකෙන් විනාඩියයි තප්පර 16කට වගේ පස්සේ. ඉතින් අද ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකේ කොතන දෙන්න කියලා අපි දන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද මේ පළවෙනි තත තමයි අද ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එක ලොන්ච් කරන්නේ. ඒ තමයි මම කිව්වේ අද අපි මේකෙන් ගොඩාක් දත්ත ලබා ගන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ තියෙන ස්ටාර්ෂිප් රොකට් ලොන්ච් එකට වැදගත් වෙන. ඉතින් දත්ත ලබා ගැනීම තමයි අද තියෙන ප්‍රධානම අරමුණ. ඊට පස්සේ දැනට කැල්කියුලේට් කරලා තියෙන ආකාරයට රොකට් ලොන්ච් එකෙන් තප්පර 25කට පස්සේ තමයි
5 seconds of it at all engines full thrust.
And I'm gonna do the thing. People probably already know what I'm gonna say now.
රොකට් ලොන්ච් ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකේ මැක්ස් කිව් ලක්ෂය අපි SpaceX සමාගම විසින් කැල්කියුලේට් කරලා තියෙන විදිහට රොකට් ලොන්ච් එකෙන් තප්පර 25කට පස්සේ තමයි මැක්ස් කිව් ලක්ෂය පිහිටනවා කියලා දැනට එස්ටිමේට් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒක එස්ටිමේෂන් එක විතරයි. එස්ටිමේටඩ් ටයිම් එකක් විතරයි. මොකද අපිට මේ රොකට් ලොන්ච් එකේ කලින් යවපු දත්ත නැති නිසා අද තමයි අපි ඒක හරියටම හොයාගන්න වෙන්නේ මැක්ස් කිව් ලක්ෂය කොහෙද පිහිටන්නේ කියලා.
Absolutely flying away. Let's see what I've got. I've got a Manchester. That's I think Chris B will be happy with that. Well, I've got a Melbourne, Australia, a Netherlands, a Florida, a Poland. There's a Napoleon there. Oh my God, it's going so quickly. There's a Virginia. I've seen a Canada, a France. I've seen a
orbital launch mount එකෙන් ගොඩක් ලොකු ventilation එකක් එනවා මේ මෙතන මේ propeller loading පටන් අරන්ද
See some
මම
Pennsylvania.
කෝල් එක නම් ආවේ නැහැ බලන්න.
oh yeah, there's a Pennsylvania in there, or a
Throw
Quebec in
out.
Canada.
Shout out.
Norway, yeah.
There's a Toronto. I'm also seeing many Europeans in here. I mean,
And
this is kind of European lunchtime now, so
If I
many
may just
people are
point out, by
probably
the
on their
way,
lunch breaks.
If we are going for exactly 8 a.m. Central Time, then we are exactly now at T-minus 2 hours and counting. Keeping in mind that time could shift a little bit later, depending on when they go for fueling, if there are any holes in the window, but now at T-minus 2 hours or so until the approximate scheduled liftoff time.
I've seen a Rhode Island in there as well now in chat. There's a Portugal in there as well. There's a
I
Cuba.
just saw Titusville on the Space Coast there.
Yep, a Cuba. And if you're watching from Cuba, the Bahamas, any kind of location around the Caribbean there, if you are in Cuba, in the Bahamas, or close to that region, potentially or probably also within the Florida Keys, you could have a chance to see this fly overhead. So I'd say probably about Sawyer, what do you think? Maybe
දැනට
to
estimate
3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Keep an eye out to see what happens.
T plus, yeah, after that. But potentially along the west coast of Florida as well. It will be flying over the Gulf, so it's worth keeping an eye out. And I do want to point out, you can see in this picture here, the methane subcoolers are getting frosty. That means they are getting super cooled, so we should be close to start seeing those propellants flow into Starship very soon.
Sawyer, just to jump in here real quick, we have confirmation that the WB-57 is on its way. Its transponder is turned on at Ellington Airport in Houston. It's pushed back, not pushed back, it's taxied out from the ramp, and it's currently going along the taxiway. It looks as if it's going to be lining up on the north-south runway the longest north-south runway at Ellington. So it looks as if that will be taking off on time in about 8 minutes time, or even before then. It's got a little bit of a taxi route to go, but it's not that far. And then from there, it'll probably take Ian, what do we think? Probably about an hour or so to get down to Boca Chica. It's quite a flight from Houston all the way down to the Mexican border, pretty much.
Yeah, they'll want to get down there with a bit of time to spare just to be safe. I'd say about like an hour, hour and a half probably. However, we do have an estimated return time of around 10:40 a.m. Central Time. So we'll see what we're expecting on that front.
Very, very exciting indeed. It's all of these points of confirmation are just. Actually, I think I may have been incorrect there. The WB-57 is now going horizontally, so it might be going to a different runway. So this might mean it's taking off sooner than we thought. But anyway,
And for
this
those who
extra
are unaware,
confirmation. Go on,
for those who are unaware, by the way, the WB-57 is a high-altitude airplane that's used for imaging. So if you've seen any of the crew capsule returns from high up in the air, sometimes in infrared, black and white, and then obviously high up, really close up, those are typically WB-57 images.
Yeah, so it looks as if it's going to be taking off in just a few minutes now, and all of these extra points of confirmation are just leading to it just gets even more exciting by the second. So now we've got the vents lining up with the countdown, we've got the WB-57 lining up with the countdown, all of these different points, all of these different factors lining up with points in the countdown just further solidifies the case that this might actually be happening in under 2 hours time. Now, as we approach T-minus 1 hour and 55 minutes in the count, Ian, I believe we're going to have a little bit of a commentary switch over here. Excuse me, a little bit of a commentary switch over here. So thank you very much for coming on, for commentating on the commentary stream for the Starship test flight. And fingers crossed, this goes pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. If all does go well, I'll see you around T-minus 30 minutes. So for the next hour and a half, everyone, buckle up. Let's all get hyped up for this orbital flight, and I don't even know what to say. Like, it's just so crazy that we're even here. So enjoy sunrise, enjoy the countdown. Let's hope we get that go for prop load, and I'll see y'all pretty soon.
And coming in Ian's place, we have everybody's favourite on-site German. We have an Adrian Beale joining us from Starbase. Or you're not actually at Starbase because you're not allowed to be at Starbase.
NASA space flight එකේ ඔක්කොම commenters ලවිල්ල ඉන්නද?
A hazard zone. But you're just a little bit further north, aren't you, Adrian?
Yes,
Then
it
our
would be bad
entry-
if I'm in Starbase right now. That would be a major range violation, I feel like. No, I'm in South Padre Isle. I'm watching from a good chunk away. But yeah, it's really... We are going forward. I mean, we are still lacking the confirmation if they are really... If they're really verified go for prop load. We are right now basically waiting for the OLM vent to stop or anything like that, so that would help us in the significance, or like any tweet or anything, that would be great. But as of now, we should be very close to them verifying that go for prop load was given, and that's what we are waiting for.
And the methane subcooler vent has just stopped, I'm being told, in the back channel. So, yeah, this prop load seems to be coming pretty soon.
Yes, and the vent stopping is not a bad thing. In this case, that's a good thing.
Yeah, good to
They are-
clarify
they
that for you.
මීතේන්
Yeah, they're
subcoolers
going on
වල
and off. Basically,
ventilation
we'll
එක
see
off
differences
වුණා.
as soon as prop loading
හැබැයි ඒක
begins.
නරක දෙයක් නෙමෙයි
That's
ඒක
the
normal
main thing
දෙයක්.
that will stop instant for when as soon as the waterfall then stops, we are into prop loading, and it stops relatively sudden. So watch for that. As soon as that stops, we are in action time. So yeah, looking forward. It's getting quite close here right now.
I know. Fingers crossed that this goes through to T0 now, and then this trip would have all been worth it for you, Adrian. This is looking... how are you feeling? How's the atmosphere right now? Like, this must be...
Cool week so far. I think so far it's looking really, really good, and we'll see how the next 2 hours are playing out. But Yeah, it's amazing. It's like seeing this as a potential first rocket launch is just, I mean, you cannot ask for more, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Rai hitting it with the great questions. Asking another question: is this the first suborbital launch out of Texas? Now, Sawyer, have we had any other suborbital launches?
Out of Texas? No, it is not, because you may remember Blue Origin, their New Shepard launches out of Van Horn, Texas. So other side of the state, but there are suborbital launches there. In terms of SpaceX, they've done their hops, which went to about 12.5 kilometers.
Sawyer,
at its
sorry, I'm
highest.
just going to quickly interrupt you here because we have confirmation that the WB-57 is now airborne. It is taking off from Eggington and it's now
Oh
on its
boy.
way to the launch site. It'll be down there in about an hour's time. So that is when we're expecting the WB-57 imagery aircraft to make it down there. It is just past 1,000 feet, so it is on its way to Starbase, which is very, very exciting. It's now just making the turn out of Houston.
And
I
of
can-
course,
Sawyer,
sunrise
you
is
can
also in about an
continue.
hour.
Yeah,
I was gonna-
we are seeing first signs of the sunrise. It's slowly coming, and also we will, which might circle here a bit.
And
Yes.
Brady in the back channel actually has a cool fact here, which is the WB-57 flies higher than Starship's highest flight so far. Go on, Sawyer.
No, that was just going to go along with what I was saying in terms of the height of Starship's flight. So, yes, we've had suborbital flights from Texas from Blue Origin and 12.5 kilometers up from SpaceX, but this would be their highest launch for sure out of Texas, and the highest launch out of Texas.
I'm gonna get this one from Squeak Squawk quickly. Adrian, talking about launch windows, when does the window today actually close? And I'll also add on to this question: if we end up with a T, hopefully we don't, but if we do end up with a T-0 scrub in just under a couple of hours, will there be the opportunity to recycle and go again within today's window?
It depends why. SpaceX so far has not really confirmed any like recycle times in case of certain abort moments. So I would at this moment help my speculation of if that would be possible or not. We would have to wait for SpaceX to confirming that.
And do we know how long the window will be open for today? Sawyer,
I
if you want to
think
take
yeah,
that.
it's a the total window is 150 minutes, which opens which would open in about an hour from now, so it's 7 Central Time. So I guess that would be, if my math is right, 9:30 Central Time, 10:30 Eastern Time.
Yeah, we're all running on a little bit a bit of a lack of sleep, so any irregularities.
තාම කමාන්ඩ ගාවන ප්‍රොපලල් ලෝඩිං වලට මේ වෙන්ටිලේසේෂන් එකක්වත් මේ මීතෙන් ටෑන්කෙන්වත් ඔබිටල් ලෝච් මවන්් එක බූස්ටර්සලින්වත් නෙමේ මේ වෙන්ටිලේසේෂන් එන්නේ ප්‍රොපලල් ලෝඩිං වලින් නෙමේ එන්නේ මේ එන්නේ මේ සබ්කූලසලි මීතෙන් සබ්කූලයගෙනුයි මේ මීතෙන් සබ්කූලගෙන් තමයි වෙන්ටිලේසේෂන් එකෙන්නේ අර ඕබිටල් ලෝච් මවන්් එකෙන් එන වෙන්ටිලේසේෂන් එක එන්නේ මේ පර්ච් කරනවා ඒක වෙන්ටිලේසේෂන් යන්න මේ එක පර්ච් එකක් ඒක මේ අර ෆියුල් ලයින් සුද්ධ කරන්න මේ මොකක්ද උනේ ඇඩ්ඩයක් ප්ලේ වෙලා යාළුවනේ ඇට්ලස් වතුර බෝතලයක් ගන්න කියලා කියනවා
For about an hour and 45 minutes time.
Yes, I appreciate the throwback there to all of the hop testing, the wind hop, which technically this is just a very high altitude, long distance kind of hop. It just won't be landing back at Starbase. You'll have one portion of it with the booster scheduled to
මොනවද
land
ප්‍රශ්න
just
තියෙනවා
off
නම්
the
අහන්න
coast in the Gulf of Mexico, and the ship
ඕන
scheduled
ප්‍රශ්නයක්
to
අහන්න
splash into the Pacific Ocean near Hawaii.
ඕන ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහන්න
It's a
උත්තර
long
දෙනවා
jump hop.
Google
There
කරා
you go.
උත්තර දුන්නා
the
නෑ Google
Starships are
කරන්නේ නෑ.
competing in the Olympics.
සමහරට
I
Google
see
කරන්නත් ඉඩ
here,
තියෙනවා.
Paul Smith is asking, this is a good
ඊට
question.
කලින්
Is anyone at the production
මන් දන්න දේ කියලා ඉන්න.
facility or has it been evacuated? So we're just above 1 hour and 45 minutes until launch. Now, Adrian, has the production site been evacuated? What's the status of like that and the roads at the moment?
That would be an area that is well into the exclusion zone, the blast zone, so there should not be a single person there right now.
Fingers crossed. Hang on. Just
Yeah,
clearing
they're
my throat quickly.
Yeah, they're keeping a very tight range around it, so of where people can watch. There is also a reminder, a keep-out zone for boats. There are marked designated areas where boats can watch, and any other you'll be visited by the Coast Guard. And there is also airspace closures that will occur. So if you
ඔයාලා දන්නවද මේ Starship එකට හම්බුණ FA මේ launch license එකේ පිටු 113ක් තියෙනවා. ඒ තරම් conditions දාලා තියෙනවා. ඒ conditions වලින් ගොඩක් කියන්නේ අර boost එක මුහුදට කඩගැටුවට පස්සේ මුහුදට වෙන හානිය තමයි ගොඩක් එකේ පැහැදිලි කරලා දීලා තිබ්බේ. හැබැයි අවසරේ දීලා තියෙන්නේ එහෙම විශාල හානියක් නැහැ කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ.
Member, that means you get access to the Discord. Everybody does the Discord. We also have a new PadRap member. We have a contribution here without a message, but thank you for that anyways. More Capcom members and a few more different super chats and the like, such as $20 from MCB. Thank you very much. Another $20 from A Train Games. A Capcom member here from Leonard. PadRap member. We have some more contributions here. Lewis not leaving a message, but thank you very much for that contribution anyways. We have a new Capcom member, a new launch director member. That's pretty high up there. Thank you very much. And we have John buying multiple items off of the merchandise store. So thank you very much for that. Again, if you want any items off of there, shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Get all of your spaceflight nerd merch that you could ever desire, including the new plushie that's came into pre-order yesterday. We've got a few more PadRap members, Red Team member, Capcom member, a few more PadRap members. Thank you everybody who is joining in the lead up to Starship's first orbital flight. Well, it's not orbital flight, near orbital-ish flight, nearly orbital.
the integrated
falling
flight
short of
test.
orbital. The integrated flight test. But I just don't. Sawyer, I'm sorry, I just don't like the name. I'm gonna have to be honest. I prefer orbital-ish. It rolls off the tongue better.
Yes, a reminder then that this one, the planned trajectory is that it will go up quite high, but it will not do a complete full orbit of the Earth. Again, a reminder, the ship scheduled to splash down near Hawaii, not all the way back fully to Texas. So.
And we also have 50 USD here from Ryan Weber saying thank you very much. Oh, not saying thank you very much. I'm saying thank you very much for that. That's a big contribution. This is not a lot of sleep, people. I'm sorry. That's a big contribution. Thank you so much for that. That'll go a long way in helping to keep the robots fed down in South Texas.
And the people too, I guess.
And the people. Robots come first. Just kidding. There's a store message here from Brian. Thank you very much for that. And Adam, people purchasing off the store. And we also have a few more new members. Oh, it looks like there's an OFT patch sticker being sold there. Very interesting indeed. OFT patch, a very popular item as well on the store. We got the millimeters answer. Millimeters. Oh,
Milliliters.
Here we go.
Yes.
There, that's what I meant, Sawyer. That's what I meant. We got the milliliters answer alongside a $2 super chat here from Big Country saying, what is this? 14,166,616.82 milliliters of liquid methane. And we got another contribution from them a few minutes later, another $2 saying 526,024,754.4 milliliters of liquid oxygen. So that's the answer to the question from about 20 minutes ago. Thank you very much for working that out, Big Country, doing the doing the density calculations for Ian. And we've had just in the last few seconds here, we've had a big contribution come in here. $200 from Studley Dude 2000. Thank you very much for that. That's a huge contribution to the team. That is greatly appreciated. That is an absolutely massive contribution, one of the biggest we've had so far today. So yeah, thank you so much. It's contributions like that that really help to make this possible, help us to keep people on site, help us to keep the robots running, help us to upgrade kit and everything along those lines. So thank you so much. That will go a long way in helping to keep the show running.
To add
We
on to
also
your
have-
message, we want to thank you for your dedication as well for streaming it every day. And I know we've all been waiting for this a long time. So thank you very much for sticking with us all that time as well.
We also have a where is it? An 80 Australian dollar donation here, which is also quite a large contribution. Thank you very much for that. That is saying they've been watching since Starhopper. Thanks for your awesome coverage, professionalism, and humour. Go Starship. Yeah, I think that's the overarching message at the moment, isn't it, Adrian? Just go Starship. Everyone just wants this thing to be successful and go the best it can. So we're approaching about T-minus 1 hour and 40 minutes. Adrian, could you just give us a little rundown of what we should be kind of expecting next for everyone who's joined in the last few moments?
The next sign we will see is this OLM vent. We can right now see on the right side to stop. As soon as that stops, which might happen any second, we don't know exactly when. If that happens, they are in propellant loading. This just the situation. So basically, as long as this all
තාම කමාන්ඩ් එක හම්බුන්නේ ප්‍රොපලර් ලෝඩින් වලට. ඒ කියන්නේ අනිවාර්යෙන් අද 6:00 පහුවේ ලොන්ච් එක සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. විනාඩි 150ක ලොන්ච් වින්ඩෝ එකක් දීලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒකෙන් ඒක පටන් ගන්නේ 7යි මෙහි වෙලාවෙන් 5 මට්ට හවස 5 මට්ට. ඒ කියන්නේ තව විනාඩි 50කින් වගේනේ. එතකොට එතනින් පැයක්ම පරක් වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ 8ත් පරක් වෙනවා. කොහමද ලොන්ච් වින්ඩෝ එක ඇතුළත තමයි රොකට් එක ලොන්ච් කරන්න ඕනේ. මං හිතන්නේ තාම ප්‍රොපලර් ලෝඩින් වලට ආවේ නැහැ. කමාන්ඩ් එක ඒක එන්නත් ඕනේ.
Methane start being loaded into the ship, and a few minutes after that, we'll see rocks starting to be loaded into the ship.
And what I
as
think that's
well.
really entertaining or interesting as you see it fill up is that you'll see two distinct different frost lines, and that's where you can see where the two different tanks on board each vehicle is, the one that's used for the liquid oxygen and the one that's used for the liquid methane.
I will I'll probably try and explain this a bit better when we get some more sunlight. It'll probably be easier to see, but it's quite faint at the moment. But you can kind of see in the middle of the booster, which is the big silver bit at the bottom there. In the middle of the booster, you have the they're called what are they called? Sorry, I forgot what they're called. They're the steel things that run down the outside that help give structural support. Are they stripes?
They're almost like
Something-
ribs or rivets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not the chines. They're the stringers.
Stringers,
Thanks, Brady,
yes.
in the back channel. That's what they're called, stringers. So the above the stringers in the middle of the booster, that is the methane tank, and below it, basically everything below there, all the way down to the engine section, that is the liquid oxygen tank. So that kind of helps to differentiate where the two different lines of ice will start to form on the outside as the cryogenic propellants are loaded into the booster. And
Yeah.
go on, Sawyer.
I was gonna say right there in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, there you go. So it's quite faint. So hopefully when the sun starts to rise, that will become a little bit more evident, especially with the frost coming in. That'll make it look even easier to see as the frost will start to rise. And the propellant load should have technically started 10 seconds ago.
Well,
Is the
we'll keep
OLM
an eye-
vent going away?
That's what I mean. We'll keep an eye on the OLM vent, which again is all the lines being purged at the base there of Starship, and then once that slows down, we should see fueling begin.
There we go. So that OLM vent is still going. So it looks as if we may be a few minutes behind the schedule we were given by SpaceX. But again, I will just add that maybe the timeline we were given by SpaceX on the website isn't exactly precise, Sawyer. Could it be a few minutes out perhaps, or could they have changed some things on the day, do we think?
It is very possible that there could be a few minutes, give or take, on every single milestone, essentially. They might have gone into a slight hold just to confirm things. There might be delay in the T0. We don't know any of that, though. But yes, it is possible that it could just be off by a couple of minutes.
And there is a question here from Lynx. Adrian, I'll throw this one to you about Starship's reentry. First of all, will it survive reentry and landing in the Pacific? And if so, will Ship 24 be reused?
No, it will not survive the landing. It might survive re-entry if everything goes very, very well. But they are not planning to perform any sort of slowdown burn, like any sort of landing burn in the Pacific Ocean. Ship 24 will hit the water very hard and will not be used on any future flights. There's no second flight for it, 100%.
And you can see there in the right box there is the kind of purple hue starting to rise over Starbase as dawn approaches. You can also see the lights in the tower a little bit more clearly, and also the very red lights from the tanks over on the left. That OLM vent still pumping the technically fueling from the timeline SpaceX gave us about I don't know, a few days ago now. The fueling should have started just over 2 minutes ago, so we are still awaiting the confirmation of fueling beginning with the OLM vent basically stopping that waterfall, which you can see there kind of spewing down into the launch site.
Yeah, a reminder, that's why we're watching that vent in the bottom left there. That's what they use to purge the lines, and then once that is turned off, that means that it's no longer liquid nitrogen or anything going through it. What would be going into the vehicle would be the super chilled propellants, which, again, in this case, is the liquid oxygen and the liquid methane.
I'm going to run through some more contributions quickly because this is pretty much what helps to fund the operations here at NSF. So a big thanks to everybody who has been super chatting and purchasing items off of the store. Christy is saying that they've got 2 Starship plushies for their 7 and 5-year-olds to commemorate our visit to Boca Chica for this amazing event. Well, I do hope that you do enjoy the plushies when they arrive. They are on pre-order at the moment if you're interested. We've got some more Red Team members coming in. We've got a few well, they are contributions, but gifts is what I meant to say here. 1 Red Team membership being gifted by Swen and 20 being gifted by Charles. Thank you very much. If you received one of them, make sure to thank them in chat, because that is a very kind thing to do. It's not only do we get the financial contribution with that, but people who may not necessarily be able to afford a membership get the full perks of that membership. So if you've got a Red Team membership, it means you have access to our multi-view with many different cameras located all around Boca Chica and Starbase, giving you live feeds of what's happening. You can see tracking cameras being set up and the like, things along that line, and that OLM vent, which we can see there, is still going now, T-minus 1 hour and 35 minutes into the count. Ryan Knight has a question here alongside a $20 super chat. Sawyer, I'll throw this one to you since you're local to the area, saying, I'm in Titusville, but I can't seem to find the rocket. Which direction should I look?
I don't know if that's a joke or serious. Either way, thank you very much for the support. But yeah, we're not launching out of Florida yet. A reminder, there is a Starship tower that is built and assembled at Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. There is also another one that is in the process of being built. We've seen parts of it in an area called Roberts Road and some of our flyovers. But yeah.
දෙන්න පොඩ අව්ව එනවා ඉරපායනවා. The beginning of a new age. අලුත් යුගයක ආරම්භය තමයි අද.
Jason building a Lego Starship. That sounds very exciting indeed. But Make sure to also have a look on the
Starship
telly every once in a
එකෙන්
while
කුරුස
so you
එකක
can
හලලා
see
වගේ නේ.
how the real-life vehicle is operating. $24 from Joshua, thank you very much. And you can see there on the right there with the exposure adjusting, really like the orange and the blue really kind of popping out there. That's a very cool shot indeed. This is a. Do you remember back in November when we did like the Dawn of Artemis streams? We now got the Dawn of Starship as we are pretty much approaching. Fingers crossed, Sawyer. The final 90 minutes to go. Quickly though, Ali, again, another 50 red team memberships. That is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for that. That is awesome to see. That is a big contribution there.
Yeah,
and
but
we are
every day
very
as well,
grateful for
පටන්
that.
ගන්න
And
නැත්නම්
of course, all of the people who just received one of them, make sure to thank Ali in chat. Absolutely doing a fantastic job at gifting memberships today. It's brilliant to see. So thank you so much, Ali, for that. That's really, really kind of you.
And I just want to point out again, the clock is continuing on our clock, at least to count down to SpaceX's original T0, which they said was approximately 8 a.m. Central Time. We are waiting for confirmation of fuel load, so the time might shift by a couple minutes or more. So just putting that out there that we are keeping an eye on waiting for confirmation of propellant load to begin.
every day as well දාලා තියෙනවා we are having problems with our graphics. We would like to make sure your comments make it to air. Give us just a minute while we get them fixed. Thanks everyone. Technical issues එනවා. දැන් මම මේක අද පටන් ගන්න විනාඩි 10ක් විතර පරක් වුණෙත් මේ මගේත් පොඩි කේස් එකක් ගියා මේ OBS එක පිස්සුවක් කෙලින්න පටන් ගත්තා. ඒකයි විනාඩි 10ක් විතර පරක් වුණේ. නැත්තම් මම මේ පරක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
That I will surely let you know, but there's already one WB-57 on its way, so I do not think the other will be on its way. And we are approaching launch very quickly now, 90 minutes until T0. That OLM vent's still going, however, so Adrian, at the moment, would you say we're not too sure what the current status of the count is?
Well, based on everything we know, the loading of the vehicle has not started. If you look at the initial timeline that SpaceX has posted, and this is all based on a lot of like just puzzling this together, I would right now say that it doesn't seem like 8 a.m. is still possible. However, there might be change in these flows that completely change our indicators. But if we look at the wet rest, if we look at static fire, this doesn't look to me like propellant loading has begun, which means they are right now not tracking 8 a.m. anymore.
Okay, and we are about 9 minutes off when that should have happened at the moment, so it seems as if 8:09 might be a more accurate time if this, assuming the OLM vent dies now, which you can see it hasn't. I'm also going to see if we've got any more questions we can ask, because these do keep coming in again, everybody. If you have a question, you want it answered,
Right now, not track this. A lot of like just loading of the vehicle has not started. Well,
say we're not too sure what the current status of the count is.
Well, based on everything we know, the loading of the vehicle has not started. If you look at the initial timeline that SpaceX has posted, and this is all based on a lot of like just puzzling this together, I would right now say that it doesn't seem like 8 a.m. is still possible. However, there might be change in these flows that completely change our indicators. But if we look at the wet rest, if we look at static fire, this doesn't look to me like propellant loading has begun, which means they are right now not tracking 8 a.m. anymore.
Okay, and we are about 9 minutes off when that should have happened at the moment, so it seems as if 8:09 might be a more accurate time if this, assuming the OLM vent dies now, which you can see it hasn't. I'm also going to see if we've got any more questions we can ask, because these do keep coming in again, everybody. If you have a question, you want it answered before the launch of the world's most powerful rocket, put in of when prop load has begun, that will turn off. That it has not turned off, so prop load is yet to begin, and prop load begins at about T minus 1 hour and 39 minutes. So when that OLM vent goes off, we'll then know that prop load has begun. We're getting another question here from Melting Rocks into Metal, asking where mission control is located. We answered this a little bit earlier, but of course, many more people have joined the broadcast since then. So thank you everybody for tuning in on this Monday morning, very early.
1,04,000 බලන් ඉන්න. මේක තමයි යෝනේ. මේක නෙමේ දෝනේ.
Where is mission control located at Starbase?
They have a mission control building apparently near the at Astra School.
මගේ ස්ට්‍රීම් එක නෙමේ මං කිව්වේ. NSF එකේ ස්ට්‍රීම් එක.
Theoretically, there was also this thing maybe that they also have, like, they can control tests from the Stargate building in Boca, but that's in the production site, which is in the exclusion zone, so that's very, very unlikely to be there.
I do just want to point out really quick, you may have noticed the clock has changed. That is while we await an official T0. We were counting down to the originally planned T0, which was 8 a.m. Central Time, and that was assuming that fueling would begin at T minus 1 hour 39 minutes. Since we are past that, we are awaiting that new T0, and we'll update it as soon as we know.
There was a question in here about the propellant loading sequence. Just a couple of minutes ago I did go over that. So Abhijit, sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. I believe that if you were listening a couple of minutes ago, that should explain that. We is asking, Sawyer, I'll throw this one to you. Does Booster 7 use hydraulic or electric thrust vector control on the Raptors? So, how do the Raptor 2s steered on the booster?
Yeah, it's important to note what TVC is. That is the thrust vector control. That is basically how the vehicle steers itself. Not all of the 33 engines will gimbal, as the official term is, or move to help steer the vehicle. There is a ring that is set in place and will not move. This one is unique in that it does use, I believe it uses the electric TVC. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I believe it's electric.
Yeah, I think it is electric. The Raptor 2s are really kind of, if you compare the Raptor 1s to the Raptor 2s, they've really shrunk in size. The plumbing and all of the kind of basically all of the controls and everything that was on top of the engine bell is just really so much more simplified, and it's by simplifying it, it means the mass production of those engines can be sped up and made more efficient, and it also means which means that more engines can be made in less time. And for a vehicle that uses 33 Raptor 2s on the booster and 3 sea level and 3 vacuum optimized on the ship, getting as many engines as possible through the production line as quickly as possible is very important for the mass production of vehicles, which is in the long term what SpaceX is aiming to achieve.
And I want to point out that Booster 7 is hydraulic. All the boosters onwards will be electric TVC. That's why we've got a lot of the boxes and things on the side of Booster 7 that we don't see on Booster 9, where we have more of the chines instead.
Thanks for that, Sawyer. So yeah, you can see there just at the bottom, you can see the chines, which are the 3 kind of arranged in like a triangle formation. Those are the 3 little aerodynamic surfaces that help to point the booster upon boost back and return, which in the case of today's flight will be a splash down landing, a soft water landing, as SpaceX like to call it, in the Gulf of Mexico. JW is asking, should we be scared by the amount of small private planes on the way to Starbase? Now, Adrian, the NOTAMs, and also for boats, the Not Mars and the exclusion zones, they've kind of been in preparation for a while now. So fingers crossed, pilots and mariners should...
Good morning. Hi, everybody. It's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut.
Kolla.
And joining me this morning is Mary Liz Shalinsky.
Oh my god, that's the first time I've heard that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was gonna say Mary Liz. Nope.
No, Mary Liz and Ryan from Cosmic Perspective just got married Saturday night in Florida, and here we are in Texas with almost no sleep since Friday night. Really, was like the last night of real sleep because today is probably the second biggest day of your life.
මේ කොස්මික් පර්ස්පෙක්ටිව් කියලා
Let's do
මේ
it all at once.
ෆොටෝ
Why
ගහන
not cram
ඩයිල්
it
එකකින්
all
නොයි
in?
ස්ටාර් බේස් එක.
This is the
එයා
mission.
මැරි කළේ
This
මෙයා
is the thing that we've been waiting
ජනසුරත්තා මැරි
for
කළේ.
years.
Yes.
මේකට
A lot of us have moved out here to see the world's largest, most powerful rocket ever built. And
It's happening.
yeah, it's actually finally happening. Oh man, we're finally getting up on dusk or dawn. I mean, so we're starting to see some actual views of the rocket this morning, and they are outstanding.
තාම දන්නේ නැද්ද කොහෙද මේ
I want to show you
කල්දම්ම
one
කියලා
shot that
rocket
made me
launching.
have pure anxiety last
එක්කෝ
night.
නා-
I hope it
මේකේ
doesn't
මොකක්
give
හරි
everyone
වෙනසින්
else
නැද්ද
anxiety.
කියන්නේ.
Look at that. Of course it lags right when we do it. Yeah, but
Oh.
isn't that insane? I was like, oh, that camera's drowning.
Wave cam. That's
Getting close, and it's getting exciting.
You can see
we
the
don't have-
sunrise approaching as well too here at Starbase.
Yeah, you can see the sky is a lot lighter than it was even 10 minutes ago now. The sun is approaching. Local sunrise, I believe, is 3 minutes past 7, or like technically it's like 2 minutes and 38 seconds past 7 or something like that. But it's about 3 minutes past 7, I think. Sawyer, is that correct?
I believe 7:03 or 7:05, somewhere within those couple minutes. But yeah, a little after 7 local time.
Always our luck. But you know what? It doesn't matter because you know what we do have for you? We do have a pre-launch preview. And this is one, again, that I've been waiting to do for years and years and years and years. This is SpaceX's Starship Super Heavy test flight. All right. So this is going to be taking off today, April 17th at 8 a.m. Central. That is literally in that's in like 80 minutes. There is only a 90-minute launch window today. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit shorter window. They pushed the start time back a little bit. The name of this is the Starship flight test. Which rocket provider is this? This is SpaceX. What customer is paying for this? This is a pure flight test from SpaceX. So this is SpaceX's own money. This is their own dime. This is their own interest in making this work. Is purely SpaceX. This
passion,
is,
passion, passion.
passion, knowing that if this thing does work and as they continue to iterate, it will be the most game-changing thing in spaceflight. This is taking off from Orbital Launch Pad in Starbase, Texas, on the Orbital Launch Mount, which is super fun to see. Yeah, it's so crazy. Payload mass. There is not really a payload, especially not a deployable one, since they've literally sealed the fairing. The nose cone is tied up. There is no payload that's deployable. There are still remnants of, and I think there's actually potentially still some Starlink satellites in it.
Yes.
As far as
මොකක්ද දන්නවද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මේ ප්‍රොපලන්ට් ලෝඩ් කරනකම් හරියටම T- මේ ක්ලොක් එක කියන්න බෑලු. ඒකයි මේගොල්ලෝ මේ 6යි විනාඩි 39 එකක් දාලා තියෙන්නේ. හරියටම කියන්න බෑලු කිය ලොන්ච් එක තියෙන වෙලාව ප්‍රොපලන්ට් ලෝඩ් කරන්න පටන් ගන්නකම්. කමන්න.
weird, even though it's going the wrong way around. I mean, think about that. Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy?
Yeah.
So the flight plan for today, the trajectory is very unique. It's not quite reaching orbit intentionally. This is the worst thing is, the long time debate of, is this going to be the first Methalox rocket to orbit, the first methane powered rocket to orbit? And the fact is, even if it's completely successful today, I can't call it the first methane rocket to orbit because it's not. We can't reach orbit.
Still a
It's-
contender,
it's
but we got
still-
others.
Yeah, exactly. But what's crazy is, it has the ability. Like if they change the mission profile and it like is
කමාන්ඩ් එක හම්බුණා. The Starship team is go for propellant load. Now targeting 820. විනාඩි 20කින් විතරයි පහුනේ.
that's fun. Ooh, we have a little multi-view. Mary Liz, why don't you scoot a little bit to your left? Sorry,
You
we're.
mean you just said
oh,
my right.
this way. Yeah, sorry, you're right. There we go. Look
can
at.
do- I can
hey,
do
we
anything.
and I need to go a little this way. Look at us, podcasters.
Hey.
I don't know if that ruins everything, but whatever.
The 8 a.m. tweets a few hours ago, dedicated live stream.
දැන් මේගොල්ලෝ ක්ලොක් එක හදයි මෙතන.
Yeah, there you go. 8:20 a.m. Central Daylight Time is the official time being targeted now by SpaceX. So that
ඒ
gives us a
වගේම
little bit of confirmation
SpaceX එකේ
that
Starship
this
flight
was
test
indeed a
mission
bit of
control
a hold.
audio
Looks like a
එයා පටන්
20-minute
ගත්ත එක අපි
hold
දාලා ඉවරයි.
with the OLM vent still going.
Bro.
So there's a
It's
few
gonna be
questions
lit.
here that are waiting, but first I'm just going to quickly run here. 5 Red Team memberships being gifted. We've got a super chat with no message, but thank you still. Thank you everybody who has been contributing. And we've got some store messages coming in as well. Thank you everybody who's been purchasing off of the store. So not only do you get to help contribute to the channel, but you also get to receive some cool swag in return, such as the new patch which was restocked a few days ago, and the pre-order plushie which is now available on the shop. You know how to get it. shop.nasaspaceflight.com. There's so many store messages and messages of contribution in here. The list keeps going and going. I'm going to try and get through as many of these as the Gulf into the port. Of Brownsville. We should see some Mariners. The 2 Mariner safe zones are around there, and Jack, if I'm correct.
Yep, sure enough. That is, we're looking right now at Isla Blanca Park at the beach and the jetties, and you can see there's looks like a security vehicle on the other side.
There's a question. A good question from Lisa asking or no longer coming out of the OLM vent, as the OLM vent has stopped, which means that propellant load has begun. So Jack, what was actually coming out of the OLM vent before it just stopped just now?
Yeah, that would have been gaseous nitrogen, which they use nitrogen to chill down the propellant lines and condition them to be prepared for propellant load. You don't want to pump cryogenic propellants through hot pipes. It's just not. Go ahead.
Did you already comment that it stopped venting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry, I was running away.
Yep.
No
and
worries,
stop
Adrian.
venting. So when it is venting, it means they're chilling the lines. And when it stops venting, it means the lines have been sufficiently chilled down so that they are ready to begin flowing propellant through them.
And you can see here that the the pool of gaseous nitrogen on the ground there is starting to die down. That's just kind of leftovers from the OLM vent, if I am correct. And it also seems like the propellant load will now be starting because of that, and the new T0 has been put up into the clock, into the top left, so that is now T-minus 1 hour, 35 minutes and 20 seconds until the new launch time of 8:20 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Going to take 5 hours, add 5 hours onto that, so that is Jack.
I can't believe how close we are. An hour and 35 minutes. This is absolutely wild. As the sun begins to rise, and we get this beautiful lighting. Just wow. So now they are flowing propellants through the lines. They are starting to load the propellants into the vehicle. We are we're into the flow, and we're hearing also from SpaceX that AFTS checkouts are complete and nominal. So everything was looking good.
Very, very exciting. Just over 90 minutes now to the new revised T0 time of 8:20 local. Adrian, so now we've seen the OLM vent stop. What kind of events can we expect to happen from this point all the way down to T0? And we're being told by SpaceX Mission Control is saying liquid methane is now being loaded into the booster, which is very exciting. So that's officially being confirmed. And so, Adrian, what can we expect between now and T0?
Yes.
yet Zero, the next very cool thing will be frost rings appearing.
ක්ලොක් එක අලුත් වුණා. තව තියෙන්නේ පැයයි විනාඩි 33යි. කමාන්ඩ් එක ලැබිලා තියෙන්නේ ප්‍රොපලර් ලෝඩ් කරන්න කියලා. ඒ වුණාට තාම පටන් ගත්තේ නැහැ. මං හිතන්නේ තව තප්පර කීපයකින් ප්‍රොපලර් ලෝඩ් කරන්න පටන් ගනි.
Then at the end,
ලික්විඩ් ඔක්සිජන් ලෝඩ් කරන්න පටන් ගත්තා.
we will see the fire X system.
බලමු ෆියුල් ලෝඩ් කරන්න දැන් පටන් ගනි.
I'm not even calling it water suppression. The fire X system spooling up for a bit of fire extinguishing, and then we will see.
Very, very exciting. I'm just going to quickly run over some.
දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පේනව නේද වෙන්ටිලේෂන් ඔන් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ ලික්විඩ් ඔක්සිජන් ටැන්ක්ස් වලින්.
Yes. We've got so much kindness coming in that I've actually lost.
You want me to
where
get it?
is.
I can click it. The one from Crafty
I got it. I
Geek.
got it. I got it. There we go.
All right, cool.
75 from Crafty Geek. Thank you very much for that contribution. Asking, will the booster soft splashdown zone in the Gulf be visible from beach cameras, or is it well beyond the horizon? Now, Jack, you're on site just a little bit north of Starbase. Yeah, I guess we won't really know until the flight if the booster will be visible. But do you think you could possibly try and gauge how far out to sea you can see, or is that kind of impossible?
For me right now, I can't actually see the ocean, but for people like Adrian and the rest of our team that are on top of the Margaritaville, that is definitely something that they might be able to see. So fingers crossed we have a visual on the booster coming back down. That'd be a really, really cool thing to see, and something we're hoping to see.
And there are a couple of other massive contributions we've gotten, such as this $250 tip from Jawar. That's from tips.nasaspaceflight.com, a bit more direct way to help out the channel. So thank you so much. $250 is a massive amount to be contributing. Seriously, thank you so much for that. It goes such a long way to help fund.
එක්කෙනෙක් කමෙන්ට් එකක් දාලා තියෙනවා Starship is a go for propeller load and I am go for cafe load කියලා.
That is a really, really, really kind contribution there. Yeah.
And Jerwa
Just-
contributes like that on a regular basis, so thank you so
Yeah.
much, Jerwa. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Sanity Bites
තව පැය විනාඩි
with
30යි.
150 Great British pounds. Say,
Bruh.
hello from Yorkshire. Let's light this candle. Thank you very much for that as well. That's another huge contribution. Thank you so much for that. That is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. I can't really say anything else. I
Fueling
know I
of the
sound a bit
super
like a
heavy
broken
boost is
record, but
underway කියලා දාලා තියෙනවා.
it really helps so much to keep things operating here, and it's
We have frost. We have frost on Starship.
there we go. You can see it building up now
Yep.
from the bottom. Look at that. It's getting
Frost.
frosty, everybody.
Okay, we are about 90 minutes away from liftoff. From here on out.
90
what
minutes.
we'll now
90
see
minutes
is the-
now. Exactly.
Yep, we will now see the rings rising.
Wow, there's frost forming on the. There's propellants in both tanks. We're in 90 minutes, less than 90 minutes away. Hopefully,
you
from the
believe
first
it?
flight. This is surreal. This is absolutely wild. I cannot believe we've finally gotten to this day. Oh my gosh! Let's hope everything goes smoothly, and we can progress through the count without any issues. Oh my gosh! I'm sorry, it's not the most eloquent commentary, but holy cow, this is actually happening. This feels real.
I feel like that's something that will happen over the next 90 minutes. You will slowly, we will also get excited more and more. So you will see us and hear us slowly making less and less coherent statements. It seems like.
And now we're going to go to Jack so he can just scream maniacally into the microphone. Ah!
To be honest, at liftoff, I think that is the most appropriate commentary that we can have. Just absolute mayhem. It's just going to be absolutely incredible. I think every single person here is going to be absolutely yelling their hearts out to see this thing finally depart the pad for a orbital-ish trajectory. And Ian is confirming in the back channel that the WB-57 is nearly overhead Boca Chica. It looks as if...
I think I can see it. Is that the WB-57? There we go, we can see it.
I don't want to try and put anyone on the spot here.
වෙන්ටිලේෂන් එක පේනවා ඇති දැන්.
That would be great. But of course,
But then
not. I
I'm
don't want to
frosty
put
and all
anyone
that.
on the spot. But we are confirming that the WB-57 is
Oh, yeah.
nearly arrived.
I see the contrail. I see it.
There you go. And we have 2 visual confirmations that it is here. So yet another point towards the countdown still continuing. And this could actually happen. Like, this could actually happen. It feels weird to say that, but it could actually happen. Yeah. We've got a few more questions in here. If you have a question, put it in chat, tag us at NASA Spaceflight, we'll do our best to answer. And yeah, so I'm going to try and get to as many of these questions as possible before we hit the final stages of count, where all of our attention will be focused on the first the end of fueling, then the ignition, and then fingers crossed the liftoff of Booster 7 and Ship 24. That coming up in just under 90 minutes time, as the current schedule suggests. So this question here from Casey Fulton is asking, what is the loud aircraft engine-like noises we can hear over the stream? So Adrian, what are the noises we can currently hear from the launch sites?
This is literally the tank farm that you can hear how it is basically spooling up. You
Don't
have
know how
liquids
big of a
flying
factory
through
that
all
is, though.
kinds of vents, all kinds of
So this
little-
is a great question from Asush. Sorry if I totally mispronounced this. Do you think the pad will survive this launch, considering the fact that SpaceX never did
man.
a full burn test of 31
Yeah,
Raptors,
this
and actually
is-
it has 30?
මේකන ෆීඩ් එක මචා මේ ඩ්‍රෝන් එකකින් ෂොට් එක ගන්නනේ මං කිව්වේ ඉතින් එවරිඩි ඇස්ට්‍රොනොට් එක ගහන්න බෑ කාටවත් ඉතින් ආයේ එවරිඩි ඇස්ට්‍රොනොට් කියන්නේ නිකන් නෙක්ස්ට් ලෙවල් ප්‍රොඩක්ෂන් එකක් තියෙන පොර
Sure, they, you know, what happens mid, you know, if they shut one down, is
Yeah.
it going to tear the rocket apart, you know, and stuff like that. So I think that was intentional. And yeah, it was at low thrust. So we're gonna witness along with them what that's like. I can't get over that drone shot. I'm sorry, that is so
so
epic.
jealous.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should not be on this side because I'm just gonna be distracted by looking at all the monitors. Holy crap! Actually, that's probably what we should probably switch next time. Okay, that's so ridiculous. Okay, let's see. This is a good question from God's Eye. Thank you for your super chat. The question today is: will our good old veteran Starhopper get to witness another launch or not? I hope it does.
I hope so.
I mean, it's there. You can see it in the foreground of the shot there. It is.
That would
Forgive me, it's the most powerful that will be created in the foreseeable future. Literally nobody is attempting to create a rocket this big, not even close. And you know, that's a big deal. This will be, for the majority of our lifetimes, most likely, the largest rocket that exists by far, and it will hopefully enable some amazing things to happen. And like you said, Ryan, this launch site didn't exist a couple years ago. I mean, it's absolutely wild. That I know we all say like it's finally happening. We've been waiting for this to happen for so long, etc. But in the grand scheme of things, especially in the aerospace grand scheme of things, this has been an extremely.
I'm
Jack,
sorry,
sorry
I
to
have-
interrupt
yeah.
you. Yeah, there's the methane fuel frost we're talking about, especially with this graphic on screen. cryogenic propellants inside, forming ice around the outside of the booster.
fuel
So yeah, that is
load
confirmation we have now
කරන්න
LOX and methane both being loaded into the vehicle, and you can also see reflecting off the right of the booster there every couple of seconds the beacons that are flashing as the sunlight increases and it gets brighter down in South Texas. That will eventually become they'll be turned off so you can't see them. So yeah, just in case anyone was wondering why the booster was flashing, it's because of the beacons in the launch tower. I know a few days ago we got some questions about light
Tower
reflections
vent.
and such.
Tower vent. We got the tower vent. That is the equivalent of the mount vent that we were talking about earlier. That means they are chilling down the lines for the ship and getting ready to load propellant into the ship itself. Is that correct, Adrian?
Let me. Basically, this will go on and off. If it's on, they're not loading right now. If it's, it will go on and off again. It's a very good sign. It very much lines up with the propellant loading. This yeah, T-122. This is start of ship loading right now.
Excellent.
They are loading the upper stage.
Excellent.
So yeah, we are loading both stages now.
We are
It's
going
starting to get real.
Elon Musk කොහෙද දන්න ඉන්නනේ
Just look at this. Just look at this. It's incredible. I don't really know what else to say at the moment apart from it's actually happening.
Yep.
It's just
I think, Ryan, incredible is a fantastic word to use. It's like, it's one of those words that can be used, like, for example, awesome. And it can get overused, and the meaning can kind of come out of the word a little bit. But truly, this is incredible. This is awesome. This is like, this
කාමාරක්
inspires
ඇතුළත
awe.
මුළු ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකටම ප්‍රොපලන් ලෝඩ් කරනවා. ඒ තරම් ක්වික් ඩිස්කනෙක්ට් ආම්ස් වල පවර්ෆුල්. පැය කාමාරක් ඇතුළත මේ මීටර 160ක් උස මේ දැවන්ති ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකට පැය කාමාරක් තුරු ප්‍රොපලන් ලෝඩ් කරනවා මේ ක්වික් ඩිස්කනෙක්ට් ආම්ස් දෙකෙන්.
In just over an hour and 20 minutes is utterly bonkers in the best way.
so exciting. And for anyone just wondering, I have had a look at the WB-57 that is in the air at the moment. It's still flying south. It's missed Boca Chica, but I presume yes, it's now turning left again. So it will be orbiting just over the border between the US and Mexico. So we can see there, we can't see there, but I can see that it is beginning that kind of holding pattern above Starbase, which means, fingers crossed.
Here we go.
we should
There
be
it
able
is.
to- There is the WB-57. Look at that.
It's trying to. It will now start to turn over Starbase and start to circle around.
There you go. So, we're ready.
අයියෝ
NASA's aircraft are ready. I think the only people we're waiting on now is SpaceX to get this super fueling meant to have begun at 1 hour and 22 minutes. T-minus 1 hour and 22 minutes. Alex saying in the back channel that the vent looks healthy. So, yeah, fingers crossed. We're still on for a launch in just 1 hour and 20 minutes time, which sounds astounding to say, considering how long we've been waiting for this. It is so exciting and also quite nerve-wracking because we really want this to go well, don't we, Jack?
Yeah, nerve-wracking is absolutely correct. Oh man, when you're dealing with the amount of propellants that are going to be loaded into this vehicle, it's no joke. If they went stoichiometric and combined in just the wrong way and found an ignition source, you have one of the largest, if not the largest, non-nuclear explosion in all of history. So that's something to consider. Oh wow, look at that shot. We're all very excited, and we're all, sort of reveling in the moment here, rightfully so. At the same time, I think it's good that you point that out, Ryan, that this is in fact nerve-wracking. Obviously, SpaceX is extremely capable and is doing things with an utmost of caution. So it's not like we're riding the bleeding edge here or anything, but it's serious business. We're launching the world's largest and most powerful rocket. We're dealing with huge amounts of liquid oxygen, huge amounts of liquid methane. And it's not to be trifled with. It's not to be taken lightly. As much fun as we are all having, and will continue to have, rest assured, this is quite an operation here. And just one thing I do want to point out really quick, just take a moment and like wrap your head around the scale of things you're seeing. Like Starhopper is 60 feet high. The vehicle is massive. And yet, look how massive that vent is. Like, that is a huge vent.
යානුනේ විනාඩි
It's
5
crazy.
දෙන්න.
I'm all the way over at SPI, and I can see the vehicle. I can see the vent so clearly. It's such a big vehicle, and we are how much away?
Hour and
Like
18.
hour 18.
We can hear an increase in venting noise now. There you go. And yeah, the LOX is filling up at the speed we would expect on the booster there. Nearly in this shot at least, nearly the LOX is fully encasing the booster there. Adrian, I'm going to throw this one to you quickly. Now, we were talking about the frost and the ice. What is the estimated weight of the ice formed on Starship during fueling, and how does this affect the launch?
I don't know the exact kilograms or tons of ice that are on Starship. I have to admit that. However, most of it will fall down as soon as the engines ignite. So it will basically have A, not that much of an effect, and B, it's very much calculated. So yeah, I don't the exact like kilograms or tons amount. I'm sorry.
And we also have a question here from Astro Turtle. This is from a little while ago, whilst the pipe kind of conditioning was still going on, Jack. But why does SpaceX actually have to cool down the plumbing in stage 0 before they can start loading the fuel?
Yeah, so the deal with that is the fuel, both the fuel and the oxidizer, the methane and the oxygen, are extremely cold liquids, I guess, is the right word. They're cryogenic liquids. And if you think about it, when you are going to flow that cryogenic liquid through a pipe, you don't want that pipe to be warm or hot, because if it is, you're going to essentially start to boil some of that propellant, and that can cause issues with, I'm sure there's a variety of issues.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jack, but Mission Control is confirming that the liquid oxygen load has started on the ship, so that means that the liquid oxygen tank should start to be getting frosty on the ship as well in the next few minutes here. So we should also be keeping an eye on pretty much the full stack now. So the full stack should be starting to get frosty with methane on the booster, liquid oxygen on the booster, and ship.
Excellent.
Sorry, Jack, if you want to continue.
No, don't be sorry. Anytime there is a development with this vehicle and there's a flow going on or some sort of change in what's happening, please interrupt me. No one cares what I'm saying. We all want to know what's going on with the vehicle. No worries at all. But yeah, basically, you don't want to flow really, really cold liquid through a warm pipe that causes issues with the liquid. It heats it up. You are taking a lot of time and energy to condition that liquid into a state that the vehicle and the engines are going to expect. It's going to be the right temperature and all of that. So if you flow it through warm pipes, that's going to change the situation and change the nature of the fluids that you're flowing into the vehicle. Could heat it up maybe even beyond the limit that you want it to be at. So you're going to chill those pipes down, and once they're chilled down, then when you flow the cryogenic propellants through them, you're not going to get that change in temperature. You're not going to get any sort of issues with boil off or what have you. Hopefully that's a succinct enough answer there.
Thanks very much, Jack. And a question here from Veer. which I believe is a little bit busy right now on top of the Margaritaville getting all set up and stuff. So I'll throw this one to you again, Jack.
Sure.
Is the next Starship going to be 10 meters longer?
Well, define next Starship. Basically, there's been multiple times where Elon has sort of suggest. Oh, there we go on the ship. You can see some frost.
There we go. Condensation on the ship.
Excellent.
They are progressing.
So yeah, there has been multiple times where Elon has said like, "Oh, we'll change the flaps on the ship," or things of that nature. He has recently said they're going to stretch the ship by 10 meters. Certainly, that's something that could happen. But if you look at what vehicles have been built so far, Ship 24 is the same as Ship 25. Ship 26 and 27 are virtually the same, at least tankage-wise. The tank section and the nose cone, they don't have 26 and 27 don't have flaps and they don't have thermal tiles. However, 28 is a return to thermal tiles and flaps, and I believe 29 is as well. Although I could be mistaken there on 29. All that is to say, they have a assembly line going on here in Boca Chica, and part of what they're doing here, Elon has said, is they're building the machine that builds the machines. And periodically, that assembly line does make a shift over to a new variant of a vehicle, and we've seen that many times over. So as of right now, we have not seen any indications that there is a Starship coming down the pipe on the assembly line that is 10 meters longer. At some point, we will see that, but as of right now, we are dealing with sort of either, if you want to think about it, starships that are re-entry capable and starships that are not. And they're basically all based off of the same tankage section, and they are all the same height. So at some point, I wouldn't be surprised to see Starship get stretched like 10 meters longer. Of course, another thing Elon has hinted at is adding 3 additional Raptor vacuum engines for a total of 9 engines on the ship. But as of right now, none of the hardware that we've seen at the production site, the assembly line that's building these things, none of the hardware we've seen has either changed flaps, additional engines, stretched tanks. Those are all things that certainly, seems like they will happen at some point. It's something SpaceX is certainly thinking about, but so far, not yet.
Yeah, the development timeline for SpaceX, it changes very quickly, for Starship at least.
It's kind of wild if you think about it. The vehicle we're looking at right now is obsolete.
Yes, that is a very fair point.
Which is a wild thing to say and think about, but truly, Booster 7 in particular is obsolete. It has an outmoded thrust vector control actuation system. That's the system that moves the engines around. The Booster 7 uses a hydraulic system. Booster 9 and beyond uses an electric system, and that's just one aspect. And there's many things that we don't see or don't know about that I'm sure are changing between boosters. There are a few things that we do see and we do know about, and that is one of them, the electric versus hydraulic. But all that is to say, this vehicle is about a year old, and you gotta figure SpaceX is planning ahead and doing the design work and doing the engineering for all sorts of things, whether it's the human landing system variant that will go to the moon, whether it's a Martian variant that's going to need, I almost said shoes, that's going to need legs. I guess the legs might have shoes on them. So yeah, this is an outdated vehicle, even though it's still a big deal that it's going to fly, and it's still going to give them a significant amount of good data, at least we hope so. It's an outdated vehicle. And so, yes, there are things that are coming down the pipe, and that will happen in due course.
I'm just going to quickly throw it over to the merch store, shop.nasaspaceflight.com, because our patches, if you didn't already know, we've got some patches out for this flight. So if you want to get an actual patch, which you can, sew onto your jacket or sew into your bag or put some Velcro on, stick its places, that is available at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. It's a wonderful design by Pauline, so if you want to get that in patch form, you can. There's also stickers, there's mugs, there's t-shirts, there's hoodies, jumpers, and there's even a banner if you want to put it up on your wall or something like that. So that patch is available shop.nasaspaceflight.com. And with that, I'm going to wrap up my second stint for today. I won't be back with you before T0, but I am going to hand it over to Jack, and we should also have a Sawyer chiming in from now and again as well. So thanks, everybody, and good luck with the final hour to go. It's getting really exciting now.
Thanks, Ryan. It's getting really real, to use a trite phrase. It's really getting real. I mean, holy cow, this is really happening.
Yeah, right, Jack. I mean, looking at this vehicle, it suddenly is there. We are there, and I hope this goes well. I mean, just to set expectations here again, they still have to ignite 33 Raptor engine, and they have to work before we see a liftoff. There's still hurdles on the way here. They can clear them. They have a shot here, but don't be prepared that something might change. It's normal.
Yeah, that's a really good, a really good point, Adrian. I would like to underscore that here momentarily. Just really quickly, John buying some stuff from the store saying, "Happy birthday, James." I just wanted to throw that out there. I am cycling through some of these messages and some of the super chats that are coming through because we are 40 minutes behind right now, and I want to make sure everyone appreciates or knows that we appreciate the support. So thank you so much to everybody who is throwing $1 in the hat or $5 or becoming a member and supporting the channel in that way. Look at that ship glistening in the sunlight, nice and frosty. That is exactly what we want to see.
What a beautiful shot. It's like the perfect, even the light is like, it's perfect for this. Everything is perfect.
If we get a launch today, we're all very, very,
Shamali Vijay
because we all remember serial number 11 when it was fog. Even serial number 15, the one that landed.
Hi,
the final ship that was that conducted a high altitude flight test. That day was pretty gray and foggy. I mean, honestly, it was barely visible, which compared to SN8, SN9, and SN10, it was a dreary day. So if we get a nice, beautiful, clear, crisp day like this for launch, I mean, you really can't ask for much more. Speaking of not asking for much more, with a $500 super chat. Russell, that's another one of those names we've seen pop up many times with the high dollar support. Thank you so much, Russell. I mean, it's so much money. That is so much money. It's absolutely just wild that somebody would want to contribute that much to what we do. And I want you to know that we appreciate that support so much. We're going to take that money and do what we always do, which is plow it right back into NASA spaceflight, right back into NSF cameras, NSF feeds, NSF perks for our members, just NSF content. That's what we're going to do. Thank you so much, Russell. That is absolutely outstanding. Russell's message says, so excited for this. Been watching and enjoying your streams since Starhopper. Thanks to Chris B, Jack, Das, Adrian, Alex, Michael B, Mary, and the whole crew. Your coverage entertains and informs. Enjoy the day.
පැයි විනාඩි 5යි. වෙලා මතක් කළේ Space Fam YouTube channel එක. Subscribe කරන්න. අම්බු Starship flight test එක SpaceX එකේ ඔරිජිනල් ෆීඩ් එකට 3,85,000ක් වේටිං දාලා දෙනවා. අම්බෝ නයිස් ආතා විනාඩි දැන් පටන් ගන්නවා වගේනේ. ඔක්කොම ඒක බලන්න ඕනේ.
You're here. You have flown here from Germany. You took a risk getting a plane flight here before we knew that this was even going to be the day. I mean, you are truly have taken a gamble, and hopefully, my friend, today is the day that your gamble pays off. Absolutely, way to go.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to this. It's insane. I hope we see this in an hour. That's yeah.
Yeah, me too. Rocket
Lex
Fella, thank you for
Fridman
becoming a launch director member. That's one of the higher levels of member support there.
ChatGPT
Just wanna remind
CEO
everyone
එක
to point
කරපු
out the fact that the window does extend
පොඩ්කාස්ට්
until
මිලියන 4ක්
9:30
බලලානේ.
a.m. Central Time, so there is the potential that it may be a little over an hour, but we're hoping 60 minutes from now or so.
Right. So before Russell Snodgrass blew my mind with that absolutely outstanding amount of support, I did want to underscore that while things are progressing rapidly and exactly how we want them to, it is important to note that there are things that could come up in the flow. They could have an issue with loading propellant. They could have an issue in the terminal count. They could get all the way or very close to T0 and have an issue with the Raptors or with any number of things. So we're all very excited and we all want to see this rocket go today, but it's important to keep in mind that today could not be the day. We all hope it is, but it could be not the day. And so just have that
They're going to crack and
have
basically
that
explode
in
right
your
away.
mind. If something does happen to, don't fret. They'll
Needs to be conditioned for that. So we're going to see that at T-minus 16 minutes and 40 seconds. And that would be a huge thing because that means they're beyond. That's like we are getting close. That's a really good sign. So if we start to see Raptor chill down at T-minus 16 minutes, and that's absolutely monumental. Yeah. Oh, this is awesome. Thank you so much, Jordan A. Grab some breakfast and coffee. Thank you. We have a team here of how many people? I mean, it's like a dozen.
Let me open the spreadsheet.
It's, I mean, it's literally about a dozen.
Beautiful, beautiful humans.
People have been working all night.
So hard.
And yeah, we're gonna have a big giant breakfast feast. Whatever happens.
Call it brunch.
Oh, interesting. What you mean, like a lunch and a
Breakfast put together.
Weird.
Yes.
Yeah. We're gonna have something, and thank you so much for that support because there's a lot of mouths to feed and house. And air mattresses
You should
and
see the whole floor is covered in air mattresses.
oh my gosh, it's
fun.
It's summer camp.
Yeah, it's super fun. I feel like a child, a kid in a candy shop.
Oh man, from Andreas, NASA asset or is it a NASET? Get it, NASA asset,
Oh.
NASET. Sorry, and no, it isn't a U2. The WB-57 is based on the Canberra bomber with larger wings. It's not the same as the U2. Okay.
Oh.
I love pedants. I will take that. I want to read about this now real quick because I will gladly. It's actually, I did not realize. I thought it was literally based on the.
ලක්ෂ 4කට අධික පිරිසක් මේනකොට ස්පේස් එක් සමාගමේ Starship flight test එකේ ෆීඩ් එක වෙනුවෙන් බලාගෙන ඉන්න ලක්ෂ 4කට වඩා පිරිසක් 4,28,000ක් මේ වෙනකොට කොච්චර හිතේ බලාපොරොත්තු තියාගෙන මේ තැවන්ත රොකට් එක උඩ යනකම් බලන් ඉන්නවා ඇත්ත. Okay.
Things do stuff before I get anywhere near that thing.
Yeah.
I'm excited though. Like I just want to see it fly. Like this will help make it feel more real, and as we eventually get into training and stuff, like that will definitely start to cement it. But yeah, right now I'm just a mixture of excited, nervous. Like I'm focused right now on today, on the live stream and on watching, trying to actually absorb that we're going to be seeing this thing finally fly. But yeah, I'm not there yet as far as even thinking too much about the fact that I'm going to be a passenger on it yet. It really isn't like, it's not a daily thought even.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to go to the moon, yet I'm not even thinking about it that often. Is that weird?
I mean, it's like a dream.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Not until it becomes like my daily routine of like, I got to get up and train, or whatever. Until then, I probably just it won't feel that different,
Sometimes it hits me and I'm like, I'm just going to the moon. It just happens in these random moments every few days or something.
Every now and then, like on a clear night, I look out and see the moon and I'll just be like,
Oh,
that's insane. Like
wow.
that just, I've stopped in my tracks just like, I'm going to fly around that thing. Like it's the craziest thing. It's the most Willy Wonka thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way Cyan described her golden ticket moment.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Willy Wonka.
Like winning the golden ticket.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, yeah. Oh, man. Let's see here. Yeah, that's true. I'll feel it when I get fitted for the suit. That's very true, dear noobs in Discord. Brandon House, thank you for all you do. Every time I watch one of your videos, I always learn crazy things that make space travel more awe-inspiring. Keep up the good work, Tim. I hope. Oh, it went away. We're like, our queue is so full. It's like clearing out in tomorrow chat.
Beautiful problem, but
Yes.
yeah, it's hard to keep
It's
up.
hard.
Elon
I'm
Musk
so
inu
sorry that we're
confirmation
gonna be
එක.
missing absolutely everything. Honestly, this is another reminder, and I will explain this again because it is coming up very often. From Jacob Bonham, an important thing to note that while it isn't going orbital, it will be achieving orbital velocity. It is an eccentric orbit, so even though it's orbital velocity, it isn't orbit. So yeah, it's very pedantic, and I'm actually working on a video right now about orbit versus suborbit, and this is going to have to take up a little bit of debate time. Is why this is what it is, and why you can't really consider it orbital, because it's not targeting, and it's never at any point its trajectory, where it's going and how fast it's going, is never in a stable orbit. So you can tell, all you need is basically 2 points to know like where it is and where it's going, to know how fast it is and where it's going. You can calculate, where it will continue to go. And at
amount of time while you go to space. They usually condition these engines while they are still on the ground. That makes they basically have two pipes at the side of the ship where they vent out the at the booster you can vent it out at the bottom, and you can vent it out to ground pipes, what they're doing. On the ship you need to vent it out at the side, because otherwise you would have a build up of gas in the interstage. So that's why they make sure that they get that out. That's what we all just saw.
Cool deal. Many times, but I've never heard him quite this excited, and it's rightfully so.
I'm standing here behind him, and he's been on commentary for so long, and he had to stand up to get some of his energy out so he could see the rocket. He was just looking at the laptop, right? And he had to stand up, and he's dancing around actually right now. Adrian, you good? I think he's good.
I'm good in the most positive way. It's
in the most positive way.
It's nerve-wracking. It's insane to watch.
Sorry,
And I'm really
not
looking forward to
say.
this. And yes, at some point you don't want to sit anymore,
Bro.
because when I sit on this desk here, I cannot see Starbase. So at some point I just wanted to stand up so I can constantly, while commentating, look at Starbase.
Yeah,
It's a good problem to have.
It's quite hard to sit still. I mean, I think we're all entering sort of pace mode, where we just kind of walk back and forth and sort of anticipate the launch of this massive machine. I mean, holy cow! Really quickly, just Abriana with a store message that says, "For my boyfriend Ryan, who sets midnight alarms just to watch rockets fly. Enjoy the launch." Oh, that's sweet. Okay. I kind of need to go set up a camera and get that working, as we are getting very close to launch here. So
ventilation එක කොහොමද? Frosty, very frosty.
yeah, Sawyer, it's all you, buddy. There's so many super chats, there's so many messages. I don't even good luck. Good luck keeping up with it all. To everybody watching right now from around the world, thank you so much for tuning in to NSF's coverage of the very first Starship test flight. Just thank you so
NASA space flight එකේ stream එක 2,80,000ක් බලන් ඉන්නවා. මෙතන 2,80,000යි මුළු ලෝකෙම මිලියන 2ක් වගේ බලන් ඉන්නවා මට හිතෙන විදිහට.
But I need to get prepared for launch because we're just about 55 minutes away. And Chris Bergen said it best in chat, my brain can't deal with this. Yeah, I am suspending disbelief, and I'm going to just accept that this is real and get my camera set up. So, holy cow, I'll see y'all in a little bit.
Elon Musk ඉන්නේ Starship control room එකේ. මම ෆොටෝ එකක් දාන්නම් මේ group එකට. Facebook group එකට.
Planning, it appears like a T0 of 8:18 a.m. Central Time per the latest tweet from Elon Musk. So Adrian, where are we at, by the way, in the fueling process? So what propellants are being loaded up right now?
Basically everything. They are loading on both 4 tanks propellants, as we can see right now. We can see crossstrings on everything. So yeah, everything looks good so far. Looks progressing. They're a bit for more ahead in the booster, of course, because that started earlier. But the ship's tanks are smaller, so they will catch up. And right now, the tank farm is exactly what it's supposed to do, which is providing as much cryogenic fluids as they can.
Exactly, and it is interesting to point out there. So what you're seeing there with that looks like smoke coming off of it, that is just the super chilled outside of the vehicle as those super cooled propellants are loaded inside the ship and inside the booster. And it's also interesting that you can see the distinct lines of the individual tanks. So you can tell which one is liquid methane and which one is oxygen. What is the breakdown of that, by the way? Which tank is which?
The smaller tanks are the methane tanks, the bigger ones are the liquid oxygen tanks. That's the general rule. And yeah, I'm always lost when I'm. Oh, there's ice breaking from the top tank a bit. With a bit of ice just falling down. While they are tanking.
Both the liquid oxygen tank is on the bottom and the liquid methane tank is on top, and that is both for the booster and for ship 24 as well. Continuing to just go through all of your support here, it's really appreciated. We have some immense support. Eric Ramey here with a $100 tip. Thank you very much for that. So excited for this launch. Really happy how far NSFs have come. We very much appreciate that and the support and the love from everyone out there who's watching and helping here. We've got Stephen J with the $300 super chat. No message there, just the kind support. Stephen J, thank you very much. It's from people like you that we can actually continue to do what we do and provide this to everyone, as well as from Fatimore with a $100 saying, awesome quality, guys and gals. Keep up the excellence. We appreciate it. And Fizz with $120. Thank you for such great coverage. Go Starship. We are completely on board with you with that. And Andy Good with the €100. Thanks, Chris and all the team, for years of incredible coverage. Let's go. I am definitely on board with that. Let's go indeed. As we're getting closer now into the countdown here, we are continuing to see fueling going on at this moment. There is a great view where you can see the distinct lines of the liquid oxygen and liquid methane being loaded into both the booster and ship 24 at the very top there. And that is expected to continue for a...
ASA Rocket Lab එකේ CEO Peter Beck දාලා තියෙනවා introducing hashtag hypersonic accelerator suborbital test electron. ඒකත් ඒ ඇස්සේ rocket introduce කරනවා අයියෝ දැන් හොඳයි
prior to launch.
Yeah, that is two parts of this vehicle, how they fuel it. You can see the arm on the ship. The arm on the ship is providing the liquids to the upper stage, and at the bottom there is the booster quick disconnect, which is providing all of the liquids that are needed to the first stage. At close to liftoff, they will both retract. The ship QD will move to the side, while the booster QD will retract to itself, like in this protective shell, to protect all the lines in there, the electronics, from the energy of the Raptors passing by, so you don't have to build that up every single launch. So yeah, that's basically part of the infrastructure to fuel these rockets.
Exactly, and it's very similar to the quick disconnect arm, which is up near the top. That's at ship 24. Again, that is also expected to pull away at T0, and is currently doing its best to provide all the services that the booster or that the ship needs, just like the hold down there. let's see. We are continuing to keep an eye on the engine chill here. Thank you everyone for all the support. And I do want to point out that we do have someone else that is joining us here to help out with some of these questions and all the support and launch coverage, and that is Ian Atkinson. Ian, how are you?
Hey guys, anything interesting happening today?
I don't know if there's anything happening.
I don't know. All right, I'll see you guys later then. This sounds pretty boring.
Very funny. It is good to have you here, and we are getting so many questions and support here from everyone. We really appreciate it. Feels like we've got some more questions that we can take care of here. And Ian, I'm going to send one over to you, and that is going to be: is the rocket standing on top of the orbital launch mount, or is it encapsulated inside? And is there a risk of the booster colliding with the inner ring or walls? And that's from Deccan.
Yeah, so it is kind of inside the orbital launch mount, only partially. So the engine section, or the aft skirt of Super Heavy, is within the orbital launch mount. Now, any risk of collision at liftoff really would only be if it went laterally, if it somehow went left to right, forward to backwards. There will be a good bit of clearance between the inner edge of the orbital mount and the sides of the booster itself. And that will only be any risk of collision for like a half second at most. There's pretty much no risk of collision. So it is resting on 20 quick disconnect umbilicals, or sorry, 20 hold down points that will rapidly disconnect and retract into the mount right at liftoff. So there is.
Ian, I'm going to take over from there for you a quick sec. It sounded a bit robotic. Apologies for that. But we'll give you a second to get that taken a look at. In the meantime, there you can see ship 24. As we progress, again, 8:18 a.m. Central Time is what we're looking at. We should be seeing, it looks like a vent there on the ship. We can see that to the right, just underneath the chopstick arms. And a reminder, those chopstick arms are currently open, which is in the position it is expected to be for launch. We are progressing now with that timeline. We'll be able to run you through here what else we can continue to expect in this timeline as we progress. So, as we mentioned, the fueling is underway on both the ship and the booster. That includes liquid oxygen and liquid methane. As we continue along with the countdown, we will expect to see Raptor engine chill begin on the booster a little under 17 minutes or so before T0. And again, that is getting them cooled down and prepared for the thermal shock that they will experience once those engines completely ignite. Then the next major procedure will be at T-minus 40 seconds when the fluid interfaces begin their vent down sequence before the Raptor engines start 8 seconds before liftoff. And again, I just do want to point out that vent that we saw is completely normal. Those vents typically are used to help even out the pressure inside all of the fuel tanks in both the ship and the booster. So there is nothing to worry about when you see those. Just wanted to point that out.
NASA space flight එකේ මේ live chat එකට දාන්න පුළුවන් members only mode දාලා තියෙන්නේ. මේ මුළු 2021 message දාන්න ගත්තොත් එහෙම YouTube එකත් lag වෙනවා.
South Padre Island over here,
bro.
it continues to be a beautiful day. There are people down on the beach. Again, still not a cloud in the sky. The sun is coming up. I actually forgot my sunglasses in the truck, so we're just going to have to deal with that. But I don't think that we could have asked for a nicer day to watch this.
Exactly. Thank you for chiming in with that. Yeah, the weather looks absolutely gorgeous. Perfectly clear skies, and like we mentioned before, it's unlike SN11 or SN15, who those remember where it was quite foggy, especially SN11. We've got gorgeously clear skies, and we can see everything beautifully happening to the booster and the ship right now. And a reminder... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you're on top of the hotel right now, which we have a camera up there, which you can see in our multi-view, which you can access for all of our members who are Red Team and above.
Sawyer says we have a camera up here. Sawyer.
Do we?
We bought out the camera store. We have so many cameras up here. It took us like 15 trips up to carry all the cameras we have. We've got a fiber line up here. We've got wireless infrastructure up here. We're controlling all of the different sites from our command post here on the, well, I say on the roof of the hotel. It really relays through the hotel. And all the remote folks, the production team, are really knocking it out of the park today. But I got to say really quickly, massive thanks to the folks here at the hotel. It's the Margaritaville Resort, South Padre Island, and they set us up with not just a place to watch the lunch from. We've got a room downstairs. They just renovated the whole place. We've actually got a fiber line, and we worked with a hotel to run a fiber line from the server room downstairs all the way to the roof. But they have been absolutely fantastic to us over here. So I hope that this isn't the first, or this isn't the first, this isn't the last time.
දැන් අපිට කාගවත් ස්ට්‍රීම්ස් ඕනේද? අපිට අපේම කියලා අපේ කෙනෙක්ගේ ස්ට්‍රීම් එකක් තියෙනවා. එහෙම නෑ. ඇත්තටම කට්ටියම හොඳයි. ෆිට්. මට මේක දාන්න බෑ මේ කොපිරයිට් එකක් වදීද කියලා මේ මියුසික් එකක් යනවා
Starship launch from here, and if it
to your first ever launch, and it just so happens to be the most powerful rocket in the world. Stock Garden with more support, another $100 super chat. Let's go. Artificial reef incoming, which, yes, that's actually a very good point that we should probably address there. So, Adrian, what is going to happen with this booster after it flies and does its...
මට දාන්න බෑ මේ ලයිව් ස්ට්‍රීම්ස් වලට කොපිරයිට් අදිනවද කියලා මම හරියට දන්නේ නැහැ.
Good morning. You're looking at a live view of Starship as it awaits its first ever integrated flight test from Starbase, Texas, in just a little over from 40 minutes from now. Today, we're hoping to see our Super Heavy booster and Starship spacecraft, collectively referred to as Starship, lift off together for the first time. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kate Tice, Quality Systems Engineering Manager here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California.
And I'm Shiva Bharadwaj, a space operations engineer here at SpaceX. Now, as many of you know, Starship is SpaceX's latest and largest vehicle developed to date. It represents a fully reusable transportation system designed to carry both crew and cargo to Earth orbit, the moon, Mars, and beyond.
If you've been following the development of Starship over the last couple of years, you know we've been doing a lot of testing leading up to this big one. Once fully developed, it will be the world's most powerful launch vehicle with twice the thrust of Saturn V rocket and the ability to carry up to 150 metric tons to orbit. For reference, a 1 liter bottle of water is 1 kilogram, so 150 metric tons is basically 150,000 1 liter bottles of water, or as I like to think of it, one rather lonely blue whale.
Now, today's test will be the first of many as we work towards transitioning Starship from a developmental to an operational program. Our primary objective today is to gather as much data as we can around the fully integrated vehicles. That means the booster and the Starship and the ground systems. While we have flown Starship in the past, this will be the first attempt of Super Heavy and the first opportunity to validate how the two vehicles operate together.
Any data that we get helps improve the future builds of Starship will be considered a success for the purposes of today's test. Every milestone beyond that is icing on the cake. The further we fly, the more data we can collect. If all goes well, today's flight test could last as long as 90 minutes from liftoff to an expected hard ocean landing for Starship. Whether we end the test with a hard landing or a rapid unscheduled disassembly, or some combination of both, excitement is pretty much guaranteed.
Now, if it does all go well, Super Heavy will fire up its 33 Raptor engines and it'll lift off from the launch pad down in South Texas. About 3 minutes into the flight, we're going to hope to see the Super Heavy separate from the Starship spacecraft. It'll then perform a flip maneuver. So there's that. You can see that on your screen. And then it'll boost back in order to make a hard landing in the Gulf of Mexico.
And while that's happening, we hope to see Starship's 6 second stage engines ignite and watch as Starship coasts for about an hour at altitudes ranging between 150 and 250 kilometers before re-entering Earth's atmosphere and make its own hard landing in the Pacific Ocean about 250-ish kilometers offshore.
Now, we are getting great camera views right now, but that's because we are on the launch pad, so we've got umbilicals and connections straight to the vehicle, but we aren't expecting to get very many good views once we get past booster separation.
Yeah, we do promise, though, for any views that we do get, we will share them in real time. We are watching live with you all, so we're excited to see those views ourselves as well.
Now, in a little bit, we are going to take a closer look at the vehicle and the launch pad. But first, today is a super exciting day. Everyone on the teams across Starship have been preparing, doing a number of tests and dress rehearsals for today's launch attempt.
Yeah, that's exactly right. In fact, we saw a nice little recap of those tests in the intro video to today's webcast. For those of you that are following along, you know that many of those tests ended in those rapid unscheduled disassemblies, or RUDs as we like to call them. And it's been a long road to today. Just in 2022 alone, we had 9 static fires. We've had a couple of wet dress rehearsals. And of course, the launch control team has done numerous simulations as well.
So major shout out to the teams that have been preparing for today's full up integrated test. In fact, we've got a shot of Star Command and the South Texas launch control team. Look at all the people ready for today's launch attempt.
Yeah, that right there is our South Texas Launch Control Center. That is basically ground zero for everything that is happening today, in addition to a couple other control rooms that we have operating as well with operators on console, including the Mission Control Center here behind us here in Hawthorne, California. But with that being said, our very own Zachary Lupin is one of our SpaceX employees at our watch event in South Padre Island. Hey, Zach, how are things going on the ground?
It is a great day for a test launch today, Kate. Hello, everyone. My name is Zachary Lupin, and I'm an avionics reliability engineer here at SpaceX, and I'm at the Cameron County Amphitheater, where a growing number of SpaceX employees are gathering to watch what we hope is the first liftoff of a fully integrated Starship. Now, the Starship team has worked incredibly hard for today's launch test. Over the past weekend, teams held a launch readiness review, which included a comprehensive review of all of our vehicle systems, looking at avionics, GNC, communications, software, structures, as well as our Raptor engines and propulsion in general. Now, we are only about 5 miles away from the launch pad, so it's a pretty good view for today. And as we get into as we start to approach T-0, everyone here is clearly very excited for the events that are happening today. So as we get closer to T0, I'm going to throw it back to Hawthorne to talk more about a rocket.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Zach. And we've actually got a little bit of a crowd forming behind us, too. Now, we've got a shot of Starship on the screen. The entire Starship structure you see is made of stainless steel. And when that's fully stacked, it stands about 120 meters tall and about 9 meters around. To help you give a sense of just how big that is, we've captured a video of some of our teams doing final integration prep work in advance of today's test flight.
Just like Falcon 9, Starship has 2 stages, which we will talk a little bit more about in a minute. But in addition to those 2 stages, Starship actually has a 3rd stage called Stage 0. It consists of all the launch pad infrastructure built around the rocket. You can see a great view of it there on your screen. It's truly an engineering feat in its own right.
And I feel like it's something we don't talk about very often. There's a lot of infrastructure that goes into fueling and preparing.
චතුර බොස ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. Hello චතුර. Nice, nice.
The name says it all. It's super, it's heavy, it's super heavy. It goes by some other names, the first stage or the booster, but whatever you call it, the super heavy will be the vehicle responsible for powering Starship against that mighty gravitational pull we've got here on Earth. And when it's fully operational, it's going to get Starship to orbit.
The booster alone stands about 70 meters tall and is about the same height as a fully integrated Falcon 9, but with a diameter of 2.5 times that of Falcon 9 and
gravitational pull we've got here on Earth. And when it's fully operational, it's going to get Starship to orbit.
The booster alone stands about 70 meters tall and is about the same height as a fully integrated Falcon 9, but with a diameter roughly 2.5 times that of Falcon 9 and with 33 much larger engines.
Yeah, and having those engines, and oh my gosh, I love this shot. We can see looking up into the launch mount at the 33 engines on the booster. Those are each of the Raptor engines that's going to power today's launch attempt.
Yeah, this is an incredible view. One of my favorite views that we're going to get today. We don't have this kind of view on our Falcon 9 launches, so this is so exciting to see. You can even make out the paint markers indicating which engine is which. Like we said, there are 33 of them. So there's a lot of fire that's going to be coming out from those engines in just over 31 minutes from now. As we mentioned before, there are 33 of them on the Super Heavy, the booster, and we don't see it right now, but the cluster in the center are the ones that are actually going to gimbal and help steer the booster back down for its water landing in the Gulf.
Yeah, and they're a little bit different, Kate, than our Falcon engines. So on Falcon, we use a gas generator cycle. Here's a fantastic shot, actually, at the inner stage. So we can see the 6 engines that are on the ship side, 3 gimbaling in the middle, and then the vacuum engines. You can see 2 of them and the other ones on the other side. In the middle here. So Raptor's a little bit different. It uses something called stage combustion, which means we basically pre-burn both the fuel side and the ox side, and then get those up to the right temperatures and pressures, and then mix them in the combustion chamber. It allows us to get higher thrust and higher efficiency on these engines than on Falcon 9. Now, Super Heavy also has 4 grid fins to assist with orienting itself during the return back to Earth, as today is the fully integrated.
Harry, යාට මොකද දැන් හිතෙන්නේ? ඔයාගේ හදවත ශබ්ද මොන වගේයක් හරින්ද නැගෙන්නේ කියලා මට පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්න.
Super Heavy is going to be making that hard water landing in the Gulf.
Starship, or the spacecraft, is the 2nd stage and makes up the top portion of the vehicle. It's designed for carrying passengers and cargo between destinations on Earth, Earth orbit, and planetary destinations. It stands 50 meters tall, a little taller than the Statue of Liberty. It's comprised of 6 Raptors. We saw those just moments ago. 3 of them are optimized for sea level, and the other 3 are vacuum
ඔයගොල්ලෝ වගේ
engines.
Starship එක ගැන වීඩියෝ එක
And
බැලුවේ
like they're
නැත්නම්
optimized to operate in
දැන්
the
බලන්න
vacuum
යන්න
of
එපා.
space. They
මේක
provide a
ඉවරන හම්බ.
maximum of
ඒකේ ඔක්කොම කියලා
258,000
දීලා තියෙනවා.
tons of thrust in vacuum. The spacecraft is also outfitted with 4 flaps to help aerodynamically control the vehicle's attitude during atmospheric flight and enable precise landing at the intended location. You can see a view of those flaps there.
Now you can see the entire stack is vertical, and that's because Starship is designed for vertical takeoff and landing, as opposed to taking off and landing like an airplane. And that's really important because we don't have runways on the Moon and Mars. Fortunately, gravity at both of those destinations is not nearly as high as it is here on Earth. On Mars, it's about a third of what Earth's gravity is. On the Moon, the gravity is just a sixth of what it is here. So Starship can take off in both of those cases without needing the super heavy booster like we need here on Earth. Now, for today's test, Starship does not have its landing legs attached, and that's because we aren't going to be attempting to return to the launch site or land on land. It's going to be doing another hard water landing at the end of today's test.
We can't wait. Starship is wrapped in a heat shield, which is composed of 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles designed to insulate the vehicle during atmospheric entry.
Starship එකට අල්ලලා තියෙන මේ tiles මේගොල්ලෝ ටෙස්ට් කරන විදිය.
The hex-shaped tiles, like these ones that we have here, roughly make up about 2/3 of the vehicle. There's a couple of different geometries. The one that I have is for the circular portions of the vehicle, so it has this curvature to it. And the one that Shiva has.
Yeah, this kind is a hexagonal shape, and there's several thousand of these all across the body of the vehicle. And it's worth saying we need these because when a spacecraft re-enters from orbital velocity, it's going faster than the speed of sound and causes a lot of heat to build up that has to get dissipated by these heat shield tiles.
Yeah, thing that's really cool about these is they're super lightweight. Even just holding them, we're able to even just like hear how hollow they are because of the construction. But they do a great job of dispersing that heat during that atmospheric reentry. We actually produce these in-house at what we like to call the SpaceX bakeries. And they're located in Texas and Florida. So it's something that we designed and build in-house. And like we said, there's thousands of them. They're you can kind of see them on the exterior of the vehicle. So at this point in time, we are at T-minus 27 minutes and 18 seconds. So let's head on over to John Innsbrucker for an update on the countdown. Hey, John.
Thanks, Kate, and good morning. I'm John Innsbrucker, Principal Integration Engineer here at SpaceX. We're currently loading propellant from the ground system into both the first and second stages.
මේ integration engineers ලා කරන්නේ අතර මේ තමයි මේ integration engineers ලා කරන්නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ හැම ටීම් එකක් එක්කම වැඩ කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒ හැම එක ටීම් එකක් එක්කම වැඩ කරලා ඒගොල්ලොම එකතු කරන්නේ මේ integration engineers.
Liquid oxygen, the same as Falcon 9. But because there's no oxygen in space to support combustion, we have to bring our own. Now, a little bit of a recap. We did the go-no-go poll at T-minus 1 hour and 45 minutes. And once the team gave their goes, we polled about 20 folks. We started loading propellants onto the booster at T-minus 1 hour and 39 minutes. And at T-minus 1 hour and 22 minutes, we began propellant loading of the ship, the second stage on Starship. Now, LOX loading of the second stage main tank is almost complete right now, but we'll actually stretch it out and wrap it up and finish at T-minus 5 minutes. And then at T-minus 3 minutes, as the booster finishes loading, the vehicle will be fully loaded with just over 10 million pounds propellant. Now, currently in the countdown, we've just passed the T-minus 26 minute mark.
launch එකට විනාඩි 5කට කලින් Starship එකට propellant load කරලා ඉවර කරනවා. boost එකට විනාඩි 3කට කලින් propellant load කරලා ඉවර කරනවා. අවසානයේදී පව් මිලියන 10ක ඉන්ධන සහ liquid oxygen. පව් මිලියන 10ක් කිව්වේ මේ බර වටිනාකම නෙමෙයි. පව් මිලියන 10ක කියන්නේ පව් කියන්නේ රාත්තල් නේද? මම හිතන්නේ රාත්තල්. පව් මිලියන 10ක බරක් සහිත propellant load එකක් කරන් තමයි මෙයා launch වෙන්නේ.
Make our test flight today. We have backup launch windows. This could be either 24 or 48 hours after today, and it'll depend on how far we get into the countdown. but coming up on 25 minutes to go. Everything is looking good, Kate.
Everything is looking
In order
good.
to make life multiplanetary,
Let's go.
we need a fully reusable vehicle that's capable of carrying a huge amount of cargo and a lot of people to orbit and have a pretty quick turnaround. The idea is to effectively reuse launch vehicles, just like airplanes. Crowd is getting excited here in Hawthorne behind Mission Control, as you can hear. Now, imagine if you had to wait for a new airplane to be constructed every time you wanted to fly. You'd rarely go anywhere, and it would probably be completely unaffordable for most of us. In order for us to get to Mars and back with lots of people multiple times, reusability is a must.
Now, in the near term and a bit closer to home here on Earth, Starship will be critical to other programs as well. Once it's operational, Starship will deliver the full-size and upgraded version of our Starlink satellites. And that's super exciting because our next generation satellites represent a step forward in Starlink's capabilities and will provide more bandwidth and increased reliability to connect millions of people around the world with high-speed internet.
And of course, Starship will fly a number of human
मेरे इन
spaceflight
V2
missions in
Starlink
the lead up to
version
our
2
first
satellite में
missions to
deploy
Mars.
करने दिया.
Entrepreneur and pilot Jared Isaacman will command the first human spaceflight on Starship as part of the Polaris program. Jared
Polaris
served
program
as
में command
commander
करने में.
for Inspiration 4, the first all-civilian mission to orbit. Inspiration 4 launched aboard our Dragon spacecraft and Falcon 9 in September 2021, raising over $240 million for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. The first human spaceflight on Starship will launch as part of the Polaris program, and you can learn more about that series of missions at polarisprogram.com.
Now, our first lunar mission around the moon aboard Starship will be led by Japanese entrepreneur Yusaku Maezawa, also known as MZ. MZ flew to space for the first time in December 2021, he purchased all of the seats aboard Starship's first lunar mission in order to give artists and creators from all over the world the opportunity to go. And the hope is that what they will create in space will further inspire all of us here back on planet Earth. Now, over 1 million people applied for this mission, and earlier this year, they announced the final 8 crew members were selected, and you can learn more about them and MZ's mission at dearmoon.earth.
Dennis and Akiko Tito are the first 2 crew members announced to fly on Starship's second commercial spaceflight around the moon. This will be Dennis's second mission to space after becoming the first commercial astronaut to visit the International Space Station in 2001. And Akiko will be among the first women to fly around the moon on a Starship.
Wow.
The Titos joined the mission to contribute to SpaceX's long-term goal to advance human spaceflight and help make life multiplanetary.
SpaceX is also incredibly honored to be part of NASA's Artemis program to establish a sustainable presence on the moon to prepare for missions to Mars. Starship's early test launches, followed by those regular Starlink deployment missions and propellant transfer demonstrations, are directly advancing NASA's Artemis program, along with SpaceX's ongoing mission to make life multiplanetary.
SpaceX will conduct an uncrewed demonstration mission to the moon prior to the Artemis 3 mission, which will mark humanity's first return to the lunar surface in more than 50 years. It's an exciting future, but let's talk a little about how we got to today.
Now, Starship testing ramped up in July of 2019 with the Star Hopper prototype. It's sort of a short version of the Starship that we see today. There's a picture of it on your screen, the lovable water tower. Now, standing at just over 18 meters tall, the Star Hopper had a single engine and was test flown to perform landing and low-level altitude maneuvers. Starship's initial flight test was a hop that reached about 20 meters in altitude. This was followed by a second hop, the one that we've got on our screen, that rose to 150 meters in altitude. We took a little jaunt away from the launch pad and ended up landing about 100 meters or so further away from it, and you can see that on your screen. Now, notably, this was the first time that we had used a Raptor engine in flight and demonstrated control of this kind.
As a Star Wars fan, I can't not see a flying R2-D2 there. Now, after a series of 150-meter hop tests with earlier prototypes, the Starship program saw a huge breakthrough during a test flight of the vehicle known as serial number 8, or SN8. SN8 demonstrated a first-of-its-kind controlled aerodynamic descent and landing flip maneuver. Yes, I'm talking about the belly flop. This 12.5-kilometer hop test took place December 2020 and saw the SN8 prototype ascend to an altitude of 12.5 kilometers and conduct a belly flop maneuver. While it didn't stick the landing, the test was a major milestone in the development of Starship.
I love seeing the belly flop maneuver. Now, testing continued with the prototype on serial number 9. That was a 10-kilometer flight test in February of 2021. We had a nominal ascent, engine cutoff, reorientation, and controlled descent were stable. However, we unfortunately had a dramatic ending to the end of that flight when we had a failure on its engine to relight. That resulted in one of those rapid unscheduled disassemblies. But what was really, really exciting about both serial numbers 8 and 9 is how quickly we were able to achieve just our primary objectives in those 2 high-altitude test flights. In addition to getting lots of great data, Starship successfully demonstrated control of the vehicle and subsonic reentry capability.
Ultimately, we performed 9 Starship high-altitude test flights in total, and in May of 2021, SN15 launched from Starbase, reached an altitude of about 10 kilometers, performed a number of maneuvers, and safely returned to the launch site. This was the first Starship prototype to fly, control its descent, safely land, and to be recovered in one piece.
Now, having achieved that success in our suborbital campaign, one of the next big challenges for upper stage reusability is to survive the high heating hypersonic phase of entry. Combined with the ability to refill our Starship's tank with fuel and oxygen while on orbit is what will enable a fully reusable transportation system that's designed to carry both crew and cargo on these long duration interplanetary flights, and that's ultimately what will help humanity return to the moon and travel to Mars and beyond in our solar system.
So as you can tell, it is nothing but an iterative process to get to the point that we are today and where we will go from here. That iteration is a core process of how we work here at SpaceX. We like to fly and we like to test early and often, both on the side of hardware and software.
Yeah, that's an awesome point, Kate. Now, we are continuing our countdown to Starship liftoff just over 17 minutes from now. So, of course, let's check in with John for another status update. John?
Thanks, Shiva. Clock is coming up on T-minus 17 minutes from liftoff. We're continuing to click towards 0. However, right now, we've just begun listening in. The first stage team is working a pressurization issue. They're troubleshooting that right now. Now, we do have the option, if need be, if we can't solve this, then we would hold the count and probably treat today as a wet dress and not be able to launch. However, we are continuing to do propellant loading on both the Super Heavy and the ship stages. Now, most recently, we began loading liquid oxygen and methane fuel into the header tanks on Starship. At the very top, just underneath the nose there are 2 small spherical tanks. That's where the fuel and liquid oxygen header tanks are. That started at T-minus 27 minutes, and that propellant loading will continue until T-minus 9 minutes. We'll also continue loading the main tanks of the Starship second stage, although they're pretty much full right now. Everything will drain back as we get ready for launch at T-minus 5 minutes. Now, on the first stage, we're continuing to load the massive amount of propellant onto the Super Heavy booster. That's going to continue until T-minus 3 minutes. You can see the frost line on some of the views as both liquid methane and liquid oxygen go into the tank. It's 16 minutes and counting. We're also currently configuring the launch pad for liftoff. The booster hold downs are being prepared for the release at liftoff, and the second stage quick disconnect is beginning its configuration for release. The liquid oxygen and methane that are going into the second stage go through that quick disconnect. You can see it in some of the views, the arm that comes out just to the base of the second stage. That'll move out of the way as we lift off. At the same time, the SpaceX team continues to check in with the Coast Guard. We're working one boat that's in the safety perimeter. They are working to get that boat out of the way. We cleared several other boats out overnight down to one, and we expect that'll be clear so that we can proceed with launch out over the Gulf of Mexico. But as a reminder, T minus 15 minutes, 10 seconds and counting. We are working an issue on the first stage and we'll bring an update as we get more insight into that issue.
යාළුවනේ පෝල්ලයක් දැම්ම උත්තර දාන්න.
South Texas, and that facility has gone through a tremendous amount of change and growth in a really short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, 3 years ago, not much even existed there. It was a very different scene, as you can see by that photo there on your screen. Fast forward to today, and the team is building out an entire production line.
Yeah, last year they built 4 Starship Super Heavy boosters, 5 Starships, our 200 Raptor 2 engine, and this year they're targeting 5 boosters, 8 Starships in production.
ස්පේස් ෆ්ලයිට් එකෙන් දාලා තියෙනවා ස්පේක්ස් එක්ස් ටීම් එක සුපර් හෙවි බූස්ට් එකේ ටෙක්නිකල් ප්‍රොබ්ලම් එකක් එක්ක විසඳන්න කටයුතු කරනවලු. ඒ අතරතුර තවත් ටීම් එකක් තහනම් කලාපයේ තියෙන බෝට්ටුවක් අයින් කරන්න මේ කටයුතු කරනවා. මේ පළවෙනි ගැටලුව ආවා. Super heavy boost එකේ technical problem එකක් තියනවලු. බලමු මොකද
It will be different than the one that you see there on your screen now.
Now, the employees who have been at SpaceX a while say that Starbase does remind them of the early Falcon 1 days, except moving a whole lot faster.
The team at Starbase is expanding as fast as the facilities are, and if you've ever wondered what life at Starbase is like, here's a quick peek. Starbase directly employs more than 1,800 employees and is actually the largest employer in the area.
Yeah, and from that video, you can really tell, like, it's a beautiful location. It's close to the ocean. There's tons of wildlife. And that's because
Starship
being close to the equator is
විතරක්
actually a
1800ක්
fantastic
වැඩ
way
කරනවා
to
නේ.
get to orbit.
Yeah, I love that we
Wow.
have so many employee events that allow us to participate with ocean cleanup and other environmental efforts there. We'd also like to thank Cameron County for being so supportive for all of our work in that area. Now, in addition to Starbase, we'll soon be adding another Texas location to the SpaceX family. We're opening a new facility in Bastrop, Texas, just outside of Austin to support Starlink hardware production. The new facility will be over 500,000 square feet of manufacturing space, and the team has already started hiring.
Now, we have all kinds of openings in production and manufacturing for technicians and leadership and manufacturing engineers and all kinds of site support roles. Basically, if you can think of a role, we're probably hiring for it.
So if you're interested in helping expand human life to other planets or helping internet access here on Earth, consider becoming part of the SpaceX team at spacex.com/careers. Now, with that, let's tap back in with Zach down at Starbase one last time before launch. Howdy, Zach.
Hello, Kate and Shiva again. You can really feel the energy here at South Padre Island as more of the SpaceX team have gathered we're standing just over 5 miles away from the launch mount. And so from here, we've got a very nice view. I would basically say these are some of the best front row seats you could get, and might I add, beachside as well. Now, the Starship team has worked incredibly hard to get ready for this test, and we're all shoulder is the Gulf of Mexico, which is normally very open to all of the boaters and fishers. However, today, SpaceX is closely coordinating with the United States Coast Guard to establish a safe zone and ensure public safety. And up to T0, SpaceX is in regular communication with the Coast Guard to ensure there are no boats in the area leading up to the launch. Now, fingers crossed that that does not happen. Now, I'll throw it back to the folks at Hawthorne as we get closer and closer to that T-0.
We're just inside T-minus 9 minutes and counting. We're listening on one of the background loops right now. Flight director is talking about the issue we've had on first stage, working the pressurization system. Decision right now is that we are going to stop the launch for today. We're going to transition the launch attempt to a wet dress rehearsal. So that means we're going to continue with the countdown sequence of events. We'll continue loading propellant, finishing up here shortly on the second stage. We'll also continue loading propellant onto the first stage, wrapping up at T-minus 3 minutes. We're also going to go through pressurization steps, other steps of the countdown. This will be a full validation for the team, but currently the plan right now is we're waiting for final word, is that I think at T-minus 10 seconds, we will finally stop the clock and then recycle the countdown for today. Now we're inside T-minus 8 minutes and counting. We're continuing to load propellant on both the first and second stage. You can see the Starship second stage with the heat shield tiles there. Carriage arms are open. You can see the condensation around the first stage tank as we load liquid methane, liquid oxygen into the large super heavy first stage. And that propellant loading is continuing until T-minus 3 minutes. As a reminder, and there's our great view looking up at the Raptor engines, the 33 engines. There's an outer ring of 20 engines, and then there's an inner set of 13. Those are the engines that can gimbal and adjust the course of the Starship vehicle.
කියලා දැන් මෙසේජ් එක ආවා. අද වෙඩ් ඩ්‍රෙස් රිහර්සල් එකක් විතරලු කරන්නේ. මුළු ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකටම මේ ප්‍රොපලන්ට් ලෝඩ් කරන එක විතරයි ලෝද කරන්නේ. අප ස්ටේජ් එකේ කියන්නේ මේ සෙකන්ඩ් ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එකේ ප්‍රෙෂර් ඉෂුව එකක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. ඒක නිසා අදට ලොන්ච් එකට තප්පර 10ක් තියලා මේ T- ක්ලොක් එක නවතිනවා. ඊට පස්සේ ආයෙ හෙට තමයි ලොන්ච් ඇටෙන්ට් එක බාන්න වෙන්නේ. අද බාන්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Team will get this as an excellent opportunity to run the end-to-end of the system. Now in a launch, in the next few minutes, the guidance system would be performing its final alignment. We will be doing that this morning. The automated flight termination system would be armed. We won't need to arm it today as we won't be flying. And we'll do final thrust vector control checkouts, what we call wiggles of the Raptor engines on the first and second stages. Now, normally in a countdown, if we needed to hold, there's a view of the second stage Raptor engines just above the first stage. Now, as I mentioned, in a regular countdown, if we needed to hold, that would come at T-minus 40 seconds. That's the point in the countdown where we can pause to wait for final checkouts or pressurization to complete. Now, earlier this morning, we thought we might have to hold at 40 seconds. Everything's looking good, except for the one pressurization issue that the team is going to have to troubleshoot after this morning. So we won't stop at 40 seconds right now. We'll continue all the way down to 10 seconds, and then we'll go into a recycle.
Into a wet dress rehearsal here, and I actually
now
think
we're coming up T-minus 5 minutes. Overall, though, Kate Shiva, it's been a good day. It's a little sad listening to the flight director say that we're going to have to stop at 10 seconds, but I guess that's for everybody. It gives us a real run through of the launch vehicle.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Of course, we wanted to see fire today and lift off, but that's okay. The point of the countdown is to allow the teams to progress to that T0 time in a coordinated fashion and really to unveil any issues prior to the ignition sequence. So the countdown did its job today. It allowed us to identify that press issue, and like John mentioned, the teams are going to work through it, and we are going to basically call it off at T-minus 10 seconds. But the integrated launch teams and us, we are going to treat this as if it were still a launch day. We're going to do this, what we now call a wet dress rehearsal.
Yeah, and we've mentioned the term a couple of times here. We call it a wet dress rehearsal because we are wetting the propellant tanks. We are loading propellant into the vehicle. We've talked about the frost line a little bit here. That exercises the stage 0 system, the ground system, all of our infrastructure that loads propellants onto the pad. That exercises our procedures for the mission control teams. We're monitoring telemetry on the mission control consoles, looking at the pressures and the rates and the temperatures. And some of those things look a little bit different when you're getting up to the pre-flight pressurization levels and full propellant load. So we're learning things today about the integrated tests that are going to set us up for success in a future attempt later on, hopefully in the next 48 hours or so. And Kate, like it's also worth mentioning here, we're still going to take the count through to a pretty around the T-minus 10 second mark. So we're really going to exercise everything that we would up until that point in the vehicle states and ground procedures.
Yeah, it's like we said before, any data that we can collect today is super helpful. And that's exactly what we're doing. We are continuing to collect this data and allow the teams to have, be better informed for the next attempt. Unfortunately,
pressure valve එකක් මේ liquid oxygen ගෙනියන pressure valve එක මේ froze වෙලා කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ pressure valve.
Not quite sure what that timing will be at the moment, but we're looking at a minimum of 48 minutes, or excuse me, of 48 hours at this point in time. But Shiva, exactly as you said, things look a little bit different on launch day. And we allowed the countdown to do its job, to basically get to this point, to allow the teams to work through the issues. And we're going to continue, like we said before, we're going to continue all this down all the way to T-minus 10 seconds. And that will really allow the teams to pretend like this is launch day and continue and gather that data.
Yeah, Kate, it's on the one hand, it's a little bittersweet. On the other hand, we watched them go all the way through first stage propellant load, just now wrapping up the second stage, even the header tanks up under the nose of the Starship that you can see on the monitors. Actually, that all went very well today. The weather was excellent. Everything was looking good. Sadly, we just have the one issue, but that is letting the team continue to count down. And we're going to continue with it here until we get the clock hold at T-minus 10 seconds.
Yeah, so for those of you that have just joined us, we're now at T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds to what would have been the launch of our Starship flight test. But unfortunately, due to a stage 1 issue, we are going to utilize today as a wet dress rehearsal. Instead, we are not going to attempt launch. The teams are basically saying that we're scrubbing our launch attempt for today, and we are expecting a minimum of 48 hours in order to recycle. So it's all good news, though. There's nothing really to be sad about other than we had hoped to be able to lift off today, but that's okay.
Now, one thing to point out for folks, when we do come back, when we clear this and we fly, one of the things you'll hear in the last minute, you won't be hearing us because we'll be listening to the countdown. But at T-minus 30 seconds, that's when the flight director would give the final go for launch. Love to have heard that this morning, but something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
The other thing to look at is at T-minus 6 seconds, we begin lighting the engines. Up on your monitor, you can see there, T-minus 40 seconds. We did hit the 40-second hold point, and they are holding for a moment. In the end, they will release that hold. We'll go the last 30 seconds. But yes, when we do get to day of launch, the last thing to look at is in the last 6 seconds, light the Raptor engines in succession. So unlike Falcon 9, we're going to have to do that a little longer. We're hearing right now the clock is going to hold here at
BF.
T minus 40 seconds. The Super Heavy and
BF,
Starship are
JP.
looking good.
GM.
So with that, Kate, it's been a fast-paced morning. You know, we got through it fairly quickly. But at this point, we're going to have to call it a morning.
Yeah, that's right. So for those of you that have recently just joined us, we unfortunately had a hold on the countdown today, and that is going to scrub our launch attempt. But we are expecting a minimum of 48 hours in order to recycle. So be sure to keep an eye on our social channels, and we'll share information as soon as it becomes available. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
ළඟටම ආවා කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ යාළුවනේ. අද අපි ගොඩක් දේවල් කතා කරා හැබැයි මං දැන් හෙටත් ස්ටාර්ෂිප් ලොන්ච් එක තියෙනවා. දැන් මම ඊළඟ දවසේ නම් එන්නේ මේ ලොන්ච් එක සිද්ධ ගන්න තා විනාඩි 30කට විතර කලින් තමයි මං ඊළඟ දවසේ නම් එන්නේ. මම කොන්දත් දෙනවාද මේ ස්ට්‍රීම් මේ පැයක් 3ක්ද කොහෙද? ඉතින් හැමෝටම thank you ඇවිල්ලා සපෝට් එක දුන්නට. හෙට තියෙන්නෙත් මචං මේ වෙලාවටමයි 5 මාට්ට තමයි ලොන්ච් වින්ඩෝ එක මේ ඕපන් වෙන්නේ. ලොන්ච් වින්ඩෝ එක 5 මාට්ට ඔන් වෙනවා මේ ඕපන් වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ විනාඩි 150ක් තියෙනවා 5 මාර ඉඳලා. ඒ කාලය ඇතුළත යවන්න ඕනේ. අද පැයක් පරක් වුණා මේ ප්‍රොපලන් ලෝඩ් කරන්න වෙලා ගියපු නිසා. හෙට 5 මාට්ට ලොන්ච් වින්ඩෝ එක ඔන් වෙනවා ඕපන් වෙනවා. ඉතින් අපි හෙට සෙට් වෙමු ලොන්ච් එකට පැය භාගයට කලින්. ඉතින් අද ප්‍රෙෂර් වෑල් එක ලික්විඩ් ප්‍රෙෂර් වෑල් එක මේ ප්‍රෙෂර් වෑල් එක ෆ්‍රෝස් වෙලා කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ගල් වෙලා. ඒ කියන්නේ ලික්විඩ් ඔක්සිජන් අර ඊටමත් මේ කූල්නේ චිල් වැඩි හින්දා එක ප්‍රෙෂර් වෑල් එකක් ෆ්‍රෝස් වෙලා කියලා තමයි ඉලෝන් මස්ක් මේ දැන් ටිකට කලින් දාලා තිබ්බේ. කමක් නැහැ ඉතින්නේ. ඔහොම තමයි. අපි එහෙනම් දැන් පැය 3:00මාරක් මම මෙතන ඉඳගෙන ඉඳලා තියෙනවා. අපි එහෙනම් ස්ට්‍රීම් එක ඉවර කරමු. ඉතින් හැමෝටම thank you. ඇවිල්ලා ලයික් එකක් දැම්මට කමෙන්ට් එකක් දැම්මට හැමදාම සෙට් වෙලා ඉන්න. ස්ටාර්ෂිප් එක ඊළඟ ලොන්ච් වින්ඩෝ එක හෙටත් තියෙනවා. අපි එහෙනම් හෙට සෙට් වෙමු. අපේ Facebook group එකට සෙට් වෙන්න. page එක like එකක් දාන්න. channel එක subscribe කරන්න. ප්‍රශ්න මොනවා හරි තියෙනවා නම් Facebook group එකේ දාන්න. මම උත්තර දෙන්න. ඉතින් ඔය ටික තමයි. එහෙනම් අද ඕක තමයි සිද්ධ වුනේ. ඔහොම තමයි රොකට් කියන්නේ පැරාමීටර් 100 ගාණක් හරියන්න ඕනේ. පැරාමීටර් 100 ගාණක් ට්‍රූ වුණාම තමයි රොකට් එක ලොන්ච් කරන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙනම් හෙට සෙට් වෙමු. thank you. ජය වේවා.